How's it going, everyone? Dr. Fauci's back, and I'm here to inform you that you definitely should start wearing some masks over your ears and eyeballs so that these idiots can't tell you about a certain string of emails I may be implicated in, and just in case you overhear them, that you should not go see them with your eyeballs, and so you should wear the mask over your eyeballs now. It's a very dangerous effect to those emails for the virus. Just stopping by to let you know I am not an evil gremlin who lied about everything. Yes.
Firstly,
we'll throw it
why?
back.
But secondly of all, are they actually people who are recommending wear masks over your eyeballs?
Well, Babylon B article.
Yeah, number one, yes, there's a Babylon B article. Number two, it's not the most. There's not the most ridiculous suggestion that he's had. The
27,000 masks.
If you actually want to protect yourself from, let's say you're terrified of catching somebody's droplets or whatever, it's actually more effective to wear a mask over your eyes than it is to wear a second mask over your mouth.
Yeah.
So it's actually not the most ridiculous suggestion ever. It is definitely ridiculous. However, it is less ridiculous than the idea that you should keep adding additional masks onto your mouth.
So now we're already fired. Do the shtick.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of No Excuses on VTWProductions.com and YouTube.com with your favorite show hosts, Aristil,
Fenurian,
and Volasal. And for a second, I thought that Ari was just going to introduce himself as Dr. Fauci.
No.
But, we're here to bring you the latest news and commentary on the video games industry for the week that was. But if you'd like to get involved with the show, you can do so by sending us email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com, or you can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw, or you can join us in our Discord server, and you can get there by clicking on the link that shall be provided in the description underneath the archive of the show on YouTube, presuming that we still have a YouTube account by the time this is done.
Well, after that, probably not now.
Yeah,
it's an official statement from Fauci.
No.
I've told the YouTubes that they cannot remove you because I've used you as one of my many outlets, because you know I just love going on all the outlets to get my message heard.
Why?
If I recall correctly, and I may not be recalling correctly since it changes all the time, the YouTube policy is that you aren't allowed to disagree with the World Health Organization. It's not that you aren't allowed to disagree with China. I mean, it's that you're not allowed to disagree with China. It's not that you're not allowed to disagree with Fauci. So, provided you agree with China, everything will be fine. You're allowed to disagree with Fauci, though. Fauci, on the other hand, is allowed to disagree with China and not get banned, so I don't know why.
Okay, now that there's some men in ominous-looking dark suits banging on my door, should we get on with it?
You're just going to ignore them and leave them out there?
Yeah, screw 'em.
You're not going to offer them a cup of tea or something?
Nah, it's my tea.
Too bad you're not American. The correct answer is no, you can't come in. Not until I can see a lawyer.
So, on the stream today, I'm going to be playing a bit of Valheim, which I think I may have actually loaded up in the existing world. Never mind. Yeah, Valheim kind of exploded for a bit there.
And then everybody stopped talking about it for some reason.
Yeah, it's still got a bunch of people who are still playing it, but yeah.
Flash in the pan game.
Flash in the pan was actually good, though. Like, a lot of these one and done games are usually some streamer bait crap that pops up and is gone in a week.
It's that a streamer does it makes it a flash in the pan, but Valheim was organically a flash in the pan, so it's a bit of a different scenario.
Yeah, by being an actual game. So I'm just going to do a bit of this during the show. See how far I get. I'll probably get through the first boss at the very least. Then, start building a house and lose hours doing that. Seriously, some of the things people have started making in this game is absurd. How do people have that sort of time?
I don't know. You play Minecraft, you tell me.
Yeah, there's a point.
Took me a week to make a grotto.
It was a nice grotto.
You had to help.
I did. And most of it was already pre-built for you.
Yeah, the ditch was already there.
So yeah, I'll play that. As for our weeks, didn't honestly do too much this week now that I really think of it. Kept on hitting away at Leighton versus Wright, because I'm still very much enjoying my second playthrough of that game. Although it is longer than I recall it being. I think I just completely forgot about a chapter in there at some point. But yeah, it's still a good time. And if you're looking for a good game on your 3DS when your Switch is broken, then yeah, go play that.
Can you get it on the Switch?
No. But
Is there a good reason why?
Because Nintendo.
I said a good reason.
The bad reason is the only reason.
I see.
Also, it's because the game is a few years old, so they haven't bothered porting it.
But how will
Although
people
I
get their
believe
money?
the Western release of the Great Ace Attorney will be on the Switch. And
I
that was a
see.
bird hitting my window. But
Oh, I
Actually heard that.
thought you'd like slapped your keyboard or something.
nope. I probably should just make sure there's no dead bird out the front. Nope. Okay. Yeah, birds are stupid.
I
So,
see.
What else? Kept chipping away at Monster Hunter as well. Finally got that Almudron gem.
Was it worth it for you?
That my character now looks like a unified Digimon instead of a mash of two of them. Yes.
Did you get a good look at Aristeel's outfit?
I did. And I regret everything.
It was so hard to take seriously.
Although, I need to dust off the... Actually, where's my controller? I will find out how many Almudron I ended up actually killing. I actually got the gem completely by accident. Because I went into the forest on an expedition and figured, okay, I'm just going to blow off some steam and beat up some Gargwa. Because Gargwa. And there was an Almudron running around. It kind of pieced on through, dropped a shiny on the way through, and there was the freaking gem. So, yeah. I guess when in doubt, go and punch a Gargwa.
I see.
I
So
see.
that's definitely a thing.
That's definitely a thing.
So, because the Switch is ass with its screenshot abilities, I have posted a picture I took of my TV last week. Well, it's posting. It's a big picture.
Wow,
And,
that's like parent tier.
Yeah. Of said greatest outfit of all time.
Yeah. Oops.
So it should be up right now because it's coming from my phone. There we go.
Yeah. Incidentally, I did drop a video of the left shoulder shenanigans going on to Ari.
Yeah.
I'll have to put it in the general chat. I wasn't kidding. That's a magnetic shoulder.
It was rather impressive. I'll dump it in the live show chat while you're discussing.
Please do. Right butt cheek equals left shoulder. This is law.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And the video I'm posting from Fern's Drive will make everything clear in the live show chat.
Yes. Now let me see. Let me pop up Monster Hunter. I'll wait for the Switch to figure itself out.
What?
Yeah, see, that's what I've been dealing with.
Is it possible to latch on somewhere else?
Right butt cheek equals left shoulder.
Does it always go to the left shoulder no matter where you are? Like, is there actually another way to do it?
Almost. I've gotten the tip of the tail by hitting directly on the tip of the tail. If you're even a little bit off, it's left shoulder. The back, you can only get if he's toppled. And the nose is if you hit him on the tip of the nose.
Well, I presume it's just hard-coded that way, that like, left shoulder is the default position if you slap him in a place where you're missing the hitbox of another location.
Yeah, but it seems like the hitboxes of other locations are teeny-weeny.
Well, I think that's probably due to Almudron being a sort of unusually shaped monster. Like,
Horrible
relative
mud
to
noodle.
relative to other things on the same skeleton, he's sort of a weird shape.
Yeah,
And he
he's a lot
holds
longer.
himself in a weird way as well. Like, I'd say he's probably the longest normal Wyvern in the game.
Yeah.
Because he's like as long as a Bushi, except that he's not on that scale.
Yeah, like even Laggy and Agnactor. Agnactor actually sits up in much the same way, but he's still not as long. Because his tail doesn't need to be above ground while he's firing. He just pops out of the lava and laser beams everything.
Clack, clack, clack.
Clack, 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 clack. Need more clacking, damn it.
Oh, Whiskers.
Righty. Okay. So yeah, I think I've actually lost count of how many Almudron I fought. So let me...
It's a number.
It is a large number. Let's see. I'm going to go this way. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to make some items.
There.
Right. Oh, okay. Apparently there's some new freebies if you log into Monster Hunter as well.
Was there? I haven't logged in a long time. I just never log out. I've been logged in for days.
Go talk to the postal cat.
I haven't played in days, but I have stayed logged in for days.
Yeah.
Well, we beat the game almost, as far as we could reasonably get for a while.
Well, you are very, very close, but I'm not.
Yeah, 38 Almudrons.
That's a lot of Almudrons. I haven't killed that many of any monster. Not even close.
Yeah.
Like what is?
I only got a silver large crown. I still haven't done the crowns.
My monster hunt list. Let's see. 9 great Izuchi, 5 great Baggy, 9 Kulu Yaku, 5 great Rogi, 5 Azeroth.
What did you do to Kulu? 9
4
of them?
Lagombi. Well, you know, sometimes you see a Kulu go past, and you know how it is.
You just have to.
5 Volvidon, 6 Agnesom, 5 Ludroth, 3 Baroth, 7 Kezu, 9 Tetranodon, 6 Bishaten, 4 Pukey, 3 Duratotus, 3 Passarios, 5 Somnicanth, 9 Rathian, 3 Barioth, 5 Tobi Kadachi, 6 Magnamalo, 3 Anjanath, 4 Nagakuga, 8 Mizutsune, 3 Gos Harag, 13 Rathalos, 5 Almudron, 7 Zenoga, 4 Tigrex, 2 Diabolos, 2 Raknakadaki, 1 Kushala, 1 Chameleos, 1 Teostra, 2 Rajang, 1 Bagel Goose, 8 Ibushi, 2 Nawa, 1 Nawa Allmother, 1 Apex Azeros, and no other Apexes.
Incidentally, there was something else I did actually have a reason for doing this, beating up the Garguas. I wanted to see if the stupid Gargua hat was in the game.
It is, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it's been on my construct list for ages.
I had not actually previously beaten any Garguas, so yeah.
I saw that ridiculous looking thing and I was like, I have to kill this thing.
Yeah, let's see. Scroll down.
It makes you look like Jar Jar Binks.
I have the Jaggy head. It kind of looks like Jar Jar Binks.
Oh, there it is. Ah, yes. Brilliant.
Is it brilliant?
I mean, if you want to look ridiculous, yes. Oh my. It's not as majestic as the Wiggler hat, but it is pretty freaking majestic.
It does sort of jiggle when you move, too.
So beyond that nonsense, that's really been my week. Trying to think if there's anything else really worthwhile. The anime season seems to be kind of just ticking down. I haven't really started any new shows yet, though I do need to go and catch up on a few of them. Whoops.
Yeah, I don't really feel particularly strongly about anything this season.
Yeah.
Like, even the more serious shows that I'm watching are not that compelling. Like Mars Red has a lot of potential, but it's basically just how much you enjoy this depends on how much you enjoy the Taisho aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
I quite like the Taisho aesthetic, but it's not really. I don't know. It's a bit too somber and too little happens, generally speaking. I think,
yeah.
But it's watchable though.
Yeah, I did dust off the second season of the Ace Attorney anime, which is basically a retelling of the first trilogy.
I watched like one episode of the first one when it came out, but it was just so poorly animated that I kind of just dropped it.
Yeah, that never really gets over that because I think the whole thing was just done on the cheap.
Well, what I never really bothered to ask though if it's necessary for it to have good animation.
No, probably not.
Because the animation is offensively bad,
Yeah.
but it might not matter in the long run.
What I didn't know actually is going through the second season is there is a case which is not in the games that is in the anime. It's a standalone case, which is pretty cool.
I suppose my follow-up question to that is, like, what sort of redundancy are we talking here? Like, if I watch the anime, does that validate skipping the game, or are you still missing stuff?
You're still missing some stuff.
Yeah.
There's a few cases even where characters have been placed in places that they weren't in the game, or in one case, Edgeworth and Gumshoe just swap places entirely.
Why?
Exposition, largely, I think. Whoops. It's having Edgeworth somewhere that he wasn't originally means they can just skip a whole section of the investigation.
I see.
So, yeah. But by and large, if you played the games, or the first trilogy, you don't really need to watch the anime. But, I mean, it is always fun just watching Godot pulling coffee out of absolutely nowhere. That never gets old.
I mean, there's a fan dub that's fairly good of the third game if you really want to get that game in its entirety.
How Spanish do they make him?
The only voiceover I need is Nick Rekieta's.
Because he's so bad at it, because he keeps thinking like a lawyer.
Yes, more or less.
If you're playing an Ace Attorney game, do not think like a lawyer.
Well, I mean, even if it's not so much just that he thinks like a lawyer that would be bad enough. But what's more, he thinks like a Western lawyer in our style, our British common law derived legal system, not Japanese inquisitorial law.
Yeah. Although incidentally, it looks like the prequel series, the Great Ace Attorney, is based on what the Japanese system has become now. So that's kind of backwards, but anyway.
Yeah, they start to...
That's set in the Taisho era as well, isn't it?
It is, or thereabouts. I'm not exactly sure what the timeline is, but roughly. But they've got the judge and the panel of jurors. And not as Dildesnes calls it, the jurist system, which is different. And there is a difference between a juror and a jurist. So,
yeah.
We'll see what happens.
I wonder how many just casual Phoenix Wright America bros played the Apollo Justice game and saw the jurist system and were thoroughly confused.
Yeah. So the main difference between the two, there are others, is if I'm getting it right way around, a jurist is a law professional, whereas a juror is a civilian. If I'm remembering correctly.
That sounds correct.
Yeah. It might be the other way around. But,
no, I'm pretty sure it's not the other way around.
Yeah.
A jurist is basically a professional juror.
Yeah. But yeah, I am not a lawyer, so,
that's why
as requested.
That is why a panel of judges is functionally a panel of jurists.
Yeah. It is worth noting, actually, that just to bring it back to the anime and to wrap it out, the whole thing, that extra case they write, rather, is on a train, and there's a bit of arse pulling going on at the start. It's like, Phoenix and Maya have been invited along because the whole thing is to get a lawyer onto this train to do a retrial of an American ruling. And everyone keeps saying, oh, the American justice system is perfect, said only by American characters. And all the Japanese characters kind of just look at each other every time someone says that.
I'm here to tell you, as an American, we don't have a justice system.
Yeah, well, the thing is that, like with most justice systems, the weak link is the people that make it up.
Correct.
And there are some systematic improvements that could be made to the American justice system, but not really any more than most other Western countries. the main issue with it is simply the same issue that it is in most modern Western countries, where the judicial system has become a mechanism of activism rather than one of justice.
Yeah. People will always be the weakest link of anything. Until we can invent the Justice Bot 3000.
I think that would be even worse.
That will be even
Yeah.
worse.
We don't want Sybil to actually exist in the real world. Pliske, thanks.
That sort of thinking it leads directly to pre-crime being a thing.
Yeah.
That's literally what Psycho-Pass was all about.
Yeah, the only difference really is that you just know it's not personal anymore.
No, the thing is that there's no such thing as true AI. AI is simply predicated upon the rules that are put into it by a human.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm of the very unpopular school of thought that we will never have a true artificial intelligence. That it's a logical impossibility, not a lack of resources or a lack of understanding. I think it's a logical impossibility.
Yeah.
So
you would have to get somebody that's achieved nirvana to make one, and
Yeah,
that's just not
ultimately
happening.
have to basically grow an organic mind, and at that point, is it even an artificial intelligence anymore?
Well, I don't think
we can do that. It's called when
yeah.
a mommy and a daddy love each other very much.
Yeah, I don't know if you need to retake the birds and bees class, Fern, but that's what growing an organic
That's
mind
how
looks
it
like.
works. So yeah. Crap. How did we get over here? Anyway, that I'm going to call my week because otherwise we're just going to go off into the weeds.
I just want to point out that we managed to get to a sex joke before Fern's week ended this week.
Yep, that's an accomplishment. Not sure if it's a good one, but whatever.
Yeah, so accomplishment normally has like positive connotations, but
I
Yeah,
just pointed out a thing that happened. I didn't give it a positive or negative connotation.
it just happens. So I'm going to Viking for a while. Vol, what did you get up to?
Okay, so going back to after last week's show, Arya and I rounded off the primary storyline for Monster Hunter Rise. And to my profound relief, eventually it ended up being a normal Monster Hunter fight, albeit a large-scale one, which was kind of gimmicky because essentially they tried to jam every single mechanic in the game into one room.
But I will allow one instance of this just because of your boy.
Yeah, boy.
I've never heard Aristil so happy to encounter a Magnamalo before.
So, in the fight...
I didn't know what was going on because I didn't see it initially, and Ari just starts shouting, "It's your boy! Your boy's here! He's here to help!"
Oh, no.
So, Magnamalo just kind of shows up in the last fight and just lets you ride him
Okay.
to go beat up the final boss, and then after his ride time's over, he just kind of pieces out.
Yeah. There's no reason for him to leave, he just sort of leaves. It's like, yeah, I've done my bit.
Okay, yeah, that's your lot. I'm off. Peace.
He's a total punch clock villain. But yeah, it's a totally conventional sort of like terminal Elder Dragon fight. It's much more along the lines of the final boss of Iceborne than the hideous gimmick that the original Nawa Thunder Serpent fight was. So basically, it's you start off doing an Ibushi fight the exact way that you do the Thunder Serpent Nawa fight, and it works pretty much exactly the same way, except that Ibushi is less specifically designed for the purposes of being an area denial boss, because it's the same Ibushi that you fight in the Rampage, except now he's in the arena summoning weapons for you to kill him with, much like Nawa. So that carries on as usual. I was like, oh no, really? We're just doing this again? This is the final fight? But no. So it ends the exact same way as the fight against Nawa, and that you beat the crap out of him and then he crashes through the ground, except this time you follow him. You follow him into the bowels of the earth, but he lands and he's dead. And
he's still kind of alive.
Well, no, his energy is still in him, but he's on the ground, unmoving and dead, essentially. And then basically Nawa shows up and DNA digivolves, as Ari likes to call it, with Ibushi, making basically a super Nawa.
Did
who
it
you
still
then
have
have
a
to fight.
gigantic jiggling scrotum?
Yes.
Yes, I
Ah.
believe so. And at this point on, it's a relatively normal fight with a relatively conventional set of abilities that you would expect a monster with that size and power set to have. It's not particularly remarkable. Aristeal managed to cart twice because of something he refers to as the tail flap, which is an unbelievably well telegraphed move that for some reason he always gets hit by.
As you immediately got hit after you pointed that out.
No, I didn't point it out, actually. I was just like, what movie are you referring to? Oh, that one. But that was also the only time I got hit by it in the entire fight because I was looking to see it.
You got
But
smacked.
yeah, and I got smacked, although it didn't cart me. In fact, it didn't really do all that much damage, so Ari must have been living dangerously. But yeah. At any rate, it was a normal fight, but it was a normal fight that I felt was sort of satisfying because it's a big monster with lots and lots of different abilities, and you get all of the toys to play with. Like, we inflicted every conceivable elemental blight on this thing. Like, practically all of the hunting helpers are available. It was just generally a very a very sort of varied fight because of all the tools that you have at your disposal. Especially comparing it to the way the game ended previously with Nawa, like it was definitely a superior experience to the Nawa fight. Not that that's difficult, since the Nawa fight was downright awful. But yeah, I think it was a good way to round it off. Of course, the game isn't over because that's not the way they do things these days. The final fight that is currently in the game is, as far as I can tell, Valstrax. Or whatever it's called. It's a variant of
Crimson
Valstrax.
Glow Valstrax, yes.
Yeah. So Valstrax is not accessible until you reach hunting rank 100. That's a lot of grinding.
That's a lot of grinding.
I mean, Aristeal's quite near it because he was already at a high hunting rank when he started helping us out, and so he's accompanied us for every one of our progression fights and farming expeditions, sort of thing. So he's pretty close. I, on the other hand, am nowhere near it. I don't remember what hunting rank I'm at, but I haven't done any grinding, so I'm nowhere near. It's a long grind, and I'm not quite sure why they felt the need to make it quite so long, but maybe it's not actually long if all you do is, like, farm Elder Dragons. Maybe they give you a lot of EXP. I haven't, as I mentioned, I've only killed the Elder Dragons once each, other than Ibushi, and I killed Lightning Nawa twice, but I don't really ever want to do that fight again if I can help it. But yeah, it seems like an unusually long grind for not really much good reason. But from what I've heard, I haven't got one myself, obviously, because I haven't fought Valstrax yet. But from what I've heard, it's got some pretty strange weapons. Like, they're basically, from what it looks like, they are all white sharpness and red sharpness.
Ooh.
So your weapon is either razor sharp or it's completely blunt and useless.
Yeah.
I mean, functionally on some monsters, at least with dual blades, you might as well be at that anyway.
Yeah, I admit I run into that with the switch axe as well.
Yeah, I am the sort of person who does have to sharpen occasionally during fights because I let the sword wear down over time, but it's usually not an issue. But yeah, I don't know what the particular magnitudes are going to be of those, but I mean, that's an interesting layout for a weapon, and considering how hard it is to get white sharpness on a greatsword otherwise, it'd probably be worth it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I haven't seen Valstrax yet, of course. I didn't play previous Monster Hunters that had him in there, so I don't know what he's like to fight.
The only previous one was Generations, and he is like right at the end of the game then as well.
But he reminds me in appearance sort of that crystal dragon boss that PSO2 has with
Yeah,
the pointy nose. That's what he reminds me of. But Yeah, I guess that remains to be seen because I'll get there eventually. I'm still having fun playing Monster Hunter, although mainly I've been fighting Rathalos over and over because I want to make his sword. Because I like
Yes.
trying to have a sword of every kind available to me before I move on to another weapon. The problem is that Rathalos doesn't seem to come equipped with plates, so I'm having a bit of difficulty with that. I haven't been able to get Rathalos to drop a plate for me.
You
I don't
want
know if there's
Almudron plate? I got Almudron plates.
I don't want Elmudron plates.
I got like
there's
15 of them.
There's no Elmudron greatsword anyway. So
Yeah.
What you have is money, Fern. You have money.
I have money, potential money, lots of it.
Elmudrons are made of Zenny, I guess. They drop all that gold everywhere.
I mean, I got like a box full of whiskers and scales and claws from it now. So
Yeah, well,
Think of
you'll
all
need
that rich, fertile mud.
You'll need to use those to make the infinity decorations required to get good ones.
Yes.
Which is a very questionable system, if you ask me.
I've got to figure out what decorations I want to go for next, and that's going to be a grind.
Yeah, I've just been sort of factoring them out entirely of my build plans, and it's like, oh well, if I get a good decoration, I get a good decoration. That'll be great, but I can't count on it ever happening. I don't really understand. Like, I feel like this being Monster Hunter, there's probably some sort of, I don't know, deeper level mathematics that if you understand, you'll be able to use the system in a more efficient way, much like it was with decoration, with you know the gem farming meta in World, where there were particular ways that you could do it that were more efficient. But yeah, it's I really don't like that random decoration, that random system. It's just, why does it have to be this way? I don't know. Yeah, so I haven't played any of it this week though, and the reason for that is largely that the new Lost Belt has dropped for FGO. I haven't had much time to play that either though, because it's been very, very busy at work, and I've been particularly busy because I'm being shipped off to the ass crack of the country next week to fill in because someone had an accident or something and they're out recovering, and that lab is not able to operate on the current staff that they've got, so they need to send somebody to help, and that somebody is me.
Hey, Gunbuster, I heard something about a lab accident. I just want to be clear that it might have been a naturally occurring lab accident.
No, it wasn't a workplace accident. Otherwise, I would have refused with every particle of my being to go, because there would be our equivalent of feds crawling all over the place. Like, if you have a workplace accident, then you're going to be dealing with bureaucrats for months.
Imagine your profession, especially.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't a lab accident. It was some other accident. They probably broke a bone or something. I'm not privy to the actual details. However, that means that I'm going to be out for a week, and that I will not be able to make the show next week, because even things go according to plan, I will probably be on a plane at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I won't be able to be on the show. But yeah, if I have this sufficient credibility for having done them this favor, maybe they'll actually let me take a holiday.
Maybe.
That would be nice.
Doubt it.
I've almost hit the cap of annual leave accruable, so that's actually causes accounting problems, I understand, if they let people sit on large amounts of leave, because it's basically unpaid debt to them.
It is, and it also is bad because if the unions decide to get a whiff of it, they're going to be all over the place, whether you're a member or not.
You know, I don't think that the union, because the union, most of the laboratories in the country once upon a time were run by the government, so they were part of sort of a government employees union, and so there is actually no government for laboratory technicians who aren't part of the government.
Don't let the
So
unions
we don't
not hear that then.
Yeah, well, the thing is that mass unionization is suddenly having a surge in popularity again, much to my profound dismay, because New Zealand workers are apparently gluttons for punishment. But also because the government's immigration policies have driven wages in New Zealand cripplingly low at this point. Like, most people can't afford to survive. So, like, there's a massive underclass of people who get paid like me but are trying to support a family on it, which is very difficult. So there's a lot of talk about how let's implement this terrible policy where unions are able to unilaterally set the minimum wage for an industry in a country by law.
Yeah, no, don't ever do that.
It sounds like a terrible idea because it is a terrible idea. But that doesn't seem to stop people thinking that perhaps we should try this.
No, don't do that because that's a terrible idea.
Yes, well, the actual solution is to curb immigration and then wait 20 years, and nobody wants to wait around for that.
No.
So, because GDP is king, right? You've just got to keep driving GDP up. Doesn't matter how much your people suffer. But yeah. At any rate, so that's where I'm going to be next week. But that will give me time to actually play the Lost Belt. I haven't had time to do much more than the start of it so far. But it's an interesting setting. It's more or less the setting I expected. I've been able to studiously avoid spoilers on all of the Lost Belts so far. But this, based on the name alone, this is what I expected to see.
So just so I don't accidentally spoil anything when we get to my week on it, what section are you up to? Or are you just on the prologue?
I have just met Lakshmi Bai.
Okay, so you're just a little bit after me. I'm in section 10 or 11.
Right.
Or you're just before me, rather.
Right. Okay. At any rate, it's more or less what I expected based on the fact that it's an Indian Lost Belt and its characteristic is that it's expanding and contracting in cycles. So, it's certainly in terms of sort of flash and bang, it's got a bit more of the sort of how do I call it? It's got a bit more Michael Bay style drama to it, in that everything explodes all the time. But
yeah,
as far as the writing is concerned, so far it hasn't really managed to strike any significant chords with me. In fact, I felt like it was being almost consciously manipulative, in that for the third time in a row, they are trying to tie your attachment to the Lost Belt to a child character, which
and the doggo.
Well, yeah, and her doggo, but like
that was the more important part for once.
That was successful exactly once, and that was because you spend a lot of time with Gerda in Scandinavia, and it was only done sort of half-heartedly in the third Lost Belt, which was kind of lazily written anyway. So it wasn't designed to be the focus anyway. It was the world building was a bigger focus for the third Lost Belt than the characterization, which was to its detriment more or less. But the trying to do it again with Asha just seems like it's like very, very consciously, we're doing this thing again because kids are cruise control for drama.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't particularly appreciate that because, number one, it feels manipulative, and number two, it's not effective the third time around. It's just not. Like they can't just bring in a cute kid to raise the stakes all the time. It's not very solid.
But doggo.
But I sort of hope that Kana makes a reappearance because he disappears quite early on in the story, and I kind of hope that he shows up again somehow because there's so much unresolved bullcrap between Kana and Arjuna that to go through the Indian Lost Belt while addressing none of it seems like it's just a waste of time.
It also, the way he bows out is kind of...
It's very generic, almost. Like
it feels like it was shoehorned in there to put tension just in the story. Like,
Yeah,
oh, your strongest summon servant for this lost belt just got poofed.
yeah, like this is not. It felt kind of contrived, and I almost sort of felt it in my water that it was coming when you summon Kana and Rama for the Indian lost belt, which is like that's really striking it lucky as far as power output's concerned. But power output is another thing, because I hope that they're not planning to make a habit of this. But the arbitrary debuffing of everything, is this just a crutch to try and get around their development being terrible, or like it
I
made
thought
sense?
at first too.
It made sense in Sin, because in the third Lost Belt, there was way too many fights where you could trivialize it by throwing Merlins at it or Skadis at it. Like either of those would have made a lot of the fights comically trivial. But they haven't taken the approach of disabling your Mystic Code this time, thank goodness. But instead, they've just put light, gentle debuffs on you. They're not even that stringent. They're just enough to throw your mental math off every time you do a fight.
Yeah. I thought they were just accounting for their
Power creep.
Yeah, at first. But there might be a thematic reason for it that actually makes sense after chapter 10 or 11.
But even if there's a thematic reason for it, there's no need to include that as a mechanic. Especially one that's so gentle. That doesn't actually change up the way you do the fight. Now, if they had done something different, like let's say that for every Yuga there was a hefty debuff on a card type.
Yeah.
Then you would change the way you fought, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Actually, I thought that's what it was at first, because you only see the quick symbol until you press and hold.
That's true.
But it turns out it's just everything if you press and hold and look at it.
But like I could see you doing like, oh well, you have Buster debuffed in the first Yuga, and then you have Arts debuffed in the second, Quick debuffed in the third, and something else or all of them debuffed in the fourth, or something like that. But no, instead they just haven't really done anything interesting. Just put, oh well, your healing is debuffed, and your card effectiveness is debuffed slightly, and your debuff resistance is debuffed slightly. But all of these things are things that you can't account for. Like you don't do anything about these. There's not really any meaningful way you can interact with them. So, well, nobody banks on debuff resistance to begin with, because it's also so RNG. And the card debuffs seem to be enough to make sure your math is wrong, but not enough to impact your strategy. And the healing, like, nobody uses healing for anything other than endurance fights anyway. And in that case, you're trying to stack a ridiculous amount of healing to begin with, so adjusting the amount a little bit isn't going to have a huge long-term effect. So it just seems like a pointless way of annoying you more than anything else. Like, my strategy of putting Kiyohime in every team and saying Kiyo burn it all down has still worked for every single fight. So, yeah, it seems like a bit of wasted effort if you ask me.
Your opinion will probably stay very close to this, but after the first boss, I'm interested to see how you feel it's different, especially with the healing, given what the first boss does, the first real antagonist boss.
Yeah, I haven't advanced that far through, but I'll have lots of time to play when I'm in Dunedin, because I won't have my main rig with me. I'll probably take my Switch down with me, but I'll be spending a lot of time catching up on the FGO stuff, because I thought that they were going to have me slumming it down there, considering how stingy my business is with everything typically, but the boss booked me a 4-star hotel room, so
nice.
I'll have access to decent internet and all the amenities that I need to be comfortable. And I think that the reason for this is they want somebody to come crying to the next time they need to ship me off down south.
Sounds right.
But yeah, at any rate, so yeah, that's that. Anime wise, I don't really have much additional commentary. Most of the things are following the arc that I expected. I was sort of interested to see that they introduced Apito and Zegion in the Slime Diaries show, who
Mm.
are they are mentioned in the books as like one of Rimuru's early experiments in naming, and they're just a couple of bugs when he meets them, but they turn out to be quite powerful bugs later because he's named them, and they sort of end up taking a very prominent position in the ecosystem as a result.
Yeah, considering he's fueled by, Sundre dragon power.
Yeah, but he's those two are basically, they don't figure in the plot much, but they're more or less sort of that his honey farming operation, and also sort of eventually get to the level of almost like local minor gods in the area.
Oh my word!
So yeah, they left out of the anime because they don't figure it in anything plot wise really. They're just sort of there because there's a lot of little scenarios like that in the books where the authors just decided to write in a couple of extra side characters just as a sort of a thought experiment or something. That's happened quite a bit in the most recent book that I've read, which is the 9th one. I have the 10th one, but I haven't started reading it yet. And the 9th one is basically about the Tempest Founders Festival and the hijinks that get up to there. But they bring in a whole bunch of characters, and they flesh out a whole bunch of characters, most of which don't really serve much of a purpose other than to just make the cast more colourful. But
I think that's probably the most frustrating thing about Slime Diaries, though, is you're getting all these characters in the manga who really didn't have a big part in the main story, but they're all showing up in this silly side series. But then you've had other characters who just have a complete 180 personality shift. So
I suppose they figure you can just get away with that in a gag, story,
I guess.
because you're supposed to exaggerate people's traits a little bit. But like there's some that just don't make sense though, like the sort of the rivalry between Shion and Ranga that doesn't exist in the books or in the anime. In fact, it's almost the opposite is true. Like the rivalry exists pretty much exclusively between Diablo and Shion, and Rimuru comments on not once but on several occasions that he's worried that Ranga and Shion are too good of friends, and that Shion's having a bad influence on Ranga and making him adopt more of her worst traits.
Oh dear. Whereas Slime Diaries, it just seems like Shion goes out of her way to annoy Ranga.
Yeah, and that's absolutely not the case. Like they're bosom buddies in the books.
Yeah.
Literally, in Shion's case, probably.
She's bosom buddies to everybody, whether they want to be or not. It is a particularly formidable bosom.
Yeah. At any rate, what else? I still feel personally that the series that I'm enjoying the most is Combatants Will Be Dispatched.
I'm not sure if that makes you a terrible person or not.
I feel like it's having more fun than any of the other series airing this season, because most of them seem to be trying to accomplish something rather than enjoy themselves. But Combatants Will Be Dispatched is definitely doing everything for the lulz.
Yes. And nothing is sacred.
No, nothing is sacred. Everything will be subject to the nefarious whims of Zipperman.
Beware, beware, the Zipperman comes.
But, yeah,
that one stupid gag just keeps coming up again.
Well, I mean, he doesn't do much to help himself.
No, he really doesn't.
But, yeah. I was looking for something to rewatch, because I usually like to keep a series in the rewatch position, as well as keeping up with some of the current ones. And I just decided to pull a disc off my Blu-ray stack, and I realized that I had ages ago I got Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun on Blu-ray and never actually watched it. I'd watched it once before when it was a seasonal anime, but I hadn't watched it since then. And it's held up really well as a comedy. Like it's actually relatively rare for me to just, belly laugh consistently throughout a comedy, but Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun definitely manages to accomplish that for me. It's just, I find it very, very entertaining. It's very, very funny, and all the characters are very, very funny. And the leading lady is almost painfully adorable, but all of the cast of characters around her are really, really good foils for each other, and the whole series works extremely well. So I'm really enjoying my rewatch of that, and I can definitely recommend it as a comedy, provided that you like Japanese style comedy, because it's very sort of manzai structured. It's mainly about somebody doing something ridiculous and the rest of the cast reacting to that.
Yep.
So yeah, but I enjoy it very much. It's definitely fun. It's got a very, very catchy opening song as well, which is the sort of song that gets stuck in your head, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But everything does for me, so I'm not really sure if that's significant or not.
Somebody beating on a trash can could get stuck in your head.
It's
Maybe.
true.
But anyway, yeah, so I'm rewatching that. I also, because the opening animation for Fate Grand Carnival came out this week past, I'm quite excited to watch it, although who only knows when somebody's actually going to sub it. I'm sure that Honest Bob is on the job, but I haven't seen an English subtitled one floating around just yet.
The memes
Bob did not
in the opening.
Yeah. Bob did not have it available when I last looked.
Boo.
He's always on the task though. He'll get there eventually, I'm sure. But yeah. So I was excited to watch that. So I remembered that there's one that I hadn't watched already, which was what's it called? I think it's the Fate Prisma Phantasm, which is the Carnival Phantasm style OVA for the Prisma Ilia setting.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get it played again, really, Rathalos.
Rathalos is being particularly stingy today.
But yeah, so I hadn't watched Prisma Phantasm, and I did watch that, and I don't think it's as good as the other Carnival Phantasm ones because it's like an hour long.
Oh,
It's
wow.
it's a one episode that is an hour long, which is, in terms of substance, that's better than Grand Phantasm is, since Grand Phantasm is they're like half an hour episodes and there's like two of them. But in terms of length, it's certainly good. But in terms of content, I feel like they tell every joke one too many times, because it's basically there's a set of plot threads that it cycles between as it goes along, and that's like one of them is people visiting Kirei's curry shop or tofu shop or whatever. I think it's actually technically is a ramen store, but every bowl of ramen is essentially mapo tofu with ramen in it.
Don't eat it unless you know exactly what that meat is.
And so it's basically it's people visiting his shop and attempting to consume the food that he produces. Because in the Prismaverse, he's a ramen chef. He's not a priest. Although maybe he's a priest and a ramen chef. It's not really clear.
Is he still a terrible person?
Oh, he's definitely
Yes.
a terrible person.
It
Although
would be curious if he wasn't.
it's less clear if he realizes the extent to which he is a terrible person. Because he's very, very po-faced about everything. So it's kind of difficult to tell.
It's not like Zero or Fate Stay Night where he's embracing the terrible personness.
No. He seems to have reworked his terrible personness into a philosophy of sorts that is centered around very hot food. But
That's cause for concern.
certainly. But yeah, I don't know. I'll have to mull that one over a bit. But yeah. So that's one of the plot threads. Another plot thread is Sakura's attempts to rehabilitate her brother into a good person.
See, there's another lost cause.
Which involves sending him to various part-time jobs. All the while he's in his servant form, because in in that particular setting, the Holy Grail War takes place by basically being indwelt by heroic spirits and using them to enhance your body rather than by summoning them as a separate familiar. And so he's in his assassin form the entire time, which makes everything that he does look absolutely ridiculous.
Oh dear.
So, and he's still a pretty much a horrible person at the end, as expected. But yeah, the other stories are alternate hosts for the Kaleido sticks. So basically, Ilya's school friends all get their turn at being the wielder of the Kaleido sticks, and then everything culminates in a super fun battle of all out kick the can.
What?
Which gets increasingly out of hand as time goes on, and takes on more of the characteristics of Grail War than a game of kick the can. Like I didn't ever play kick the can as a kid, so I don't know what the rules are, but they have a set of rules for kick the can here.
Isn't the rules for kick the can just there is a can, you kick it?
They have what they mean by kick the can appears to be a game that they're expecting the viewer knows. So maybe that's what kick the can means in Japan, but it's basically hide and seek. So there is a can and it's in the center of the play arena, and there is one team that are the seeking ones and one team that are the hiding ones. And when you spot someone, you have to call out their name and point to them, and then you run for the can and they run for the can. And whoever kicks it first locks in the win.
That actually sounds kind of fun.
So if you're the hiding person and you get spotted and you make a break for the can, you can kick it before the searching team can, then you win that round and you go back to hiding, and you don't have a changeover until the seekers can find the hiding person and kick the can before any of them can.
Huh. Yeah, for dumb playground fun, that sounds like a good one.
But yeah, so I'd never heard of this before, but at any rate, that's the game that they're playing. But they become increasingly childish and abuse the rules increasingly much and involve increasing amounts of otherworldly powers in the process of playing this game.
Oh dear.
Oh, definitely a Nasu story then.
Yeah. At any rate, it wasn't as good as other Carnival Phantasm stuff, but it was still entertaining. I'm looking forward to seeing how Fate Grand Carnival goes, because its memes are already everywhere.
So many memes.
Red hair has gone from a nobody
Red hair is yeah.
to meme lord overnight.
He gets like a full second of the intro, which is longer than anybody else except possibly Dante's. Just to himself, just to frolic.
Kirihime gets to appear in the intro as well, which I was very pleased about.
Yeah. Speaking of, what the hell is Dante's doing? He's just laughing maniacally for no reason.
Well, the thing is that Dante's reputation is that he's basically a stalker. Like he's definitely your savior in a lot of ways in several situations over the course of FGO's history, because he often just shows up to help out of nowhere, and the implication is that he's always keeping guard over the master.
Okay, so that explains the video bank.
But he does just laugh maniacally all the time as well.
Yeah, and specifically he guards their brain and their spirit. So I guess he's just privy to everything they do.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's why he has a bunch of video cameras. That was what I thought when I saw it anyway.
Yeah, that's basically the joke, is that he's an obsessive stalker. They take everything one notch further.
And so he's way too far.
Yeah. So he's just a creepy stalker. But
incidentally, Gita Ray in that intro is just an absolute joy to watch.
He's enthusiastic, I'll grant you that.
He's flapping wildly between, sane Saber Gita Ray and crazy Cuckoo Bananas caster. And he does it actually, if you watch closely while they're doing the dance in the line bit. If he's leaning left, he's sane. If he's leaning right, he's crazy. And you just watch him, and he's flapping back and forth. And there's another character who does it as well, apparently. But I missed that.
Basically that opening sequence is everything I could have hoped for in an opening sequence for a Carnival Phantasm focused on Fate Grand Order.
Yeah.
Like,
It's just memes. It's memes.
jam
all the way.
packed with gags and memes and characters. And it's sung by the characters as well.
Yep.
So, except that technically it's sung by the voice actresses and voice of the characters, not by the characters, because Liz's singing is perfectly serviceable
Yes.
in the intro. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what the characters get up to. Like the part of the episode is the part that we've already seen on the New Year's special, and part of the episode is new content. But unfortunately, it's not very long. But I'm hoping that they will rethink that at some point in the future, because there's no way this isn't going to be popular as anything.
Oh yeah. You slap the
it's-
Fate Grand Order license on something, and all of a sudden it's popular.
Yeah, the game itself, as I've mentioned in the past, is kind of ailing in popularity. So it makes sense for them to do things that will get people excited about it again. So I'm hoping they lean into that rather than sticking it at like 2 half-hour OVAs or something like that, which is what I'm concerned that they're just going to do. But
You know,
Yeah,
what? Memes the anime.
yeah, I do enjoy the FGO memes, having been sort of a part of the game, and while not joining in with the community, at least watching their antics over the course of the past couple of years.
Hmm.
So I hope that they will go further with it than they had originally planned, especially considering they seem to have no hesitation to throw humongous amounts of money at projects for the franchise. The Camelot second movie came out to absolutely rave reviews. The first one had miserable reviews. It reviewed as an absolutely terrible cinematic outing for the franchise. But the second one, everybody was just like on the edge of their seat. It's like they backloaded all of the good stuff and front loaded all of the bad stuff, so that the first movie in the duology was bad enough for 2 movies, and the second one was good enough for 2.
I see.
So, that seems to be what happened. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that when Bob gets a hold of it, because it's going to be an eternity before it comes out on DVD, I'm sure.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
on
definitely.
Blu-ray. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I still haven't watched the first one. I maybe I'll take some time to watch that, courtesy of Bob, while I'm down in Dunedin. But yeah, I want to at least get the background of how they've set it up, even if it's a terrible movie. But they've also announced that the movie for Temple of Time will be out soon, which I'm looking forward to seeing how they execute on that. There was an outline of a plan to do a series, but I think that they just realized that there's nowhere near enough content in Temple of Time to even do a simple one core. It's just not that long of a story. It is just sort of like the final boss after all. But yeah, I really hope that they keep animating these, because there are a lot of stories that I'd like to see done. I think most people who are not RSTL can live without ever seeing Agartha animated. But
Fergus
nobody wants to see any more of Fergus.
needs to thrust his sword deeply into the continent.
But
Dap.
I think it's quite likely that they would just skip over Epic of Remnant entirely, although there are some Epic of Remnant stories that I'd really like to see. I think most of them would be hard to do for various reasons, but I would really like to see Salem done as an anime. Like by someone who isn't like the Michael Bay of anime, by somebody who understands how to do a story of that sort of different tone, one which is much less action focused and much more sort of foreboding and slow paced.
Mhm.
Like, I would like to see that done. But I don't know if you could do Shinjuku. It's a little bit all over the place. Agartha is just not popular, so it wouldn't be a good commercial venture. And there's a whole bunch of copyright issues surrounding Shimosa because of Shimosa being a direct homage to an existing IP. Other than that, if that were not the case, Shimosa would be easy to do because it's basically built to be an anime. I mean, if you look at the way it's structured, how they move from like boss to boss with bits in between, it's pretty much already an anime. It just hasn't been put into that medium. But like I said, it's an homage to another IP, so it probably is going to run up against some issues if they try and do an anime of it. But yeah, I think that by contrast, Anastasia is a very strong story that I would like to see made into an anime, and I think Scandinavian Lost Belt, Gotterdammerung less so, but still could be done. I don't see how you could do Sin though. It's pretty much all exposition.
They
And
would
then punch,
have
you
to
know,
take,
it's all exposition and then a fist fight at the end with the final boss. That's what it comes down to.
they would have to seriously do some recalibrating for Sin, and it
I
would
think
be
that's off the table. I think doing any rewrites is pretty much off the table.
yeah, it's Sin's just a bit of a. I'm not even sure what Sin's problem is, but it doesn't work.
Well, that's because it's the Ura Butcher just doing a thought experiment. Oh, well, it's just a what-if story, essentially. Like, what if history proceeded in this way, and then basically you've got, alternate history fantasy. It doesn't really fit in with the other Lost Belts as a result. I think that basically the problem is you do too little with some characters and do too much with others. Like, Momo does nothing. At
She's
all.
just there.
Yeah, Mordred just shows up and then shows herself out. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
Like they would, I think you could do it, but you would have to very much reweight the writing around tell Yu Mei-ren's story, tell Jin Kei's story, tell the Emperor's story, and the main character would basically just be a camera to watch all those things circling around each other.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like I mean, if you look at the script length, it's about a quarter shorter than all the other Lost Belts. So I'm not really sure what the development cycle was like for that, but it feels like it was a little bit rushed, and so the pacing ended up wrong. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll never know. But yeah. So I hope they keep putting money into animation projects because honestly, they sell merch like nothing else. My goodness.
Yeah.
And it's basically the same merch every time, and people will buy it every time, so it's hugely profitable for them. Like every time another Fate series gets released, they do another set of merch. And likewise, Case Files, they've only adapted, one book, plus some original content. So they'll be able to do more of that as well. Because there's a lot of background that's missing from the story because they adapt Rail Zeppelin, which just sort of takes place in the middle. I don't know why. But so we don't have any of the background on Grey or anything like that. But yeah. At any rate, the franchise still has a future, even if the game looks like it's on the rocks. But they need to sort that out right quick and not just do marketing, but actually improve the game a bit. But yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're putting out the 6th Lost Belt finally.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. Like the development cycle for the 5th Lost Belt was really harried. And they blamed everything on the Coof in the end, but I don't think it's actually the Coof's fault. I think the Coof has proven to be an extremely convenient excuse for a lot of projects in a lot of industries that were mismanaged.
Yeah.
It's just it's copping the blame for a lot of that stuff, and nobody's allowed to sort of contradict that point of view.
And even even then, it facilitates mismanagement just because it's the Coof.
Yeah, but I don't think it's actually the guilty party in most cases. I think that the responsibility lies with the people it always lay with in most situations, rather than it being specifically the fault of the Coof's disruptions. But yeah, but because of that, the 5th Lost Belt's development cycle ended up really stretched, and there's lots and lots of dead weeks on the game in Japan, and lots of content that people felt was just filler and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm interested where they're going. The 6th one's out. I don't know where it's going to. Is it out or is it coming out like immediately?
The pre-release campaign came out. We'll get more information on the 11th, I think.
Right. So it's sort of it'll be out in a week's time, roughly, sort of thing, most likely.
Yeah, we'll have to dodge spoilers for.
Yeah, it's basically impossible to dodge servant spoilers, but maybe we'll be able to dodge the others. Like, I still don't know anything that happens in Atlantis other than you fight a bunch of gods, and I don't know anything that happens in the back end of Yuga Kestra. Can't pronounce.
Yeah, well,
Would you like to try that again?
No, I don't want to try it again because it's Indian words. It's Hindi words.
Have you tried to pronounce Pepe's servant with your tongue yet? Because I have, and it hurts.
Yeah, I feel like you have to be really much more into Indian mythology than I am to get half of what's going on here. Like, I've only got the loosest idea of the way the sort of metaphysical structure of Hindu mythos
Deva
actually
cycles.
works. Like it's
Yeah.
very bewildering to me. There's a lot there's a lot of interesting concepts in there that you find missing from other pagan pantheons. That in the way it's all structured and the way the metaphysics works, especially like it's very rich in certain mystery concepts that are say entirely absent in the Nordic pantheon. Like there's no difference in between the Norse pantheon and a group of particularly powerful humans. There's literally no difference other than the changing shapes and giving birth to strange creatures, of course, which seems to be endemic to pagan pantheons. But generally speaking, they just act entirely like humans, entirely within the confines of a human historicity as well. Just one that happens slightly out of place and out of time. So, yeah.
Oh, Loki. Why'd you have to get banged by that horse?
I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it. Oh, did he get banged by the horse, or did he give birth to the horse?
He got banged by. Well, he gave birth to the horse because he got banged by the horse.
He gave birth to a dog.
Whatever.
He gave birth to several children. He is the gives birth to strange things. He is mommy to a whole bunch of stuff.
And he does it for giggles like half the time.
No. He did it because he bet a giant that the gods needed a wall built. And it was going to be a big, beautiful wall and keep all the frost giants in Muspelheim. And they were going to pay for it. So they got one of the giants to come in and build the big, beautiful wall. But his payment was he wanted Freya and the sun. And the gods were like, that's way too much of a price to pay, my dudes. So it looks like he's going to do it through much shenanigans in between. And then Loki says, they look at Loki because it was all his idea to go through with this. And they go, you're going to fix this. And he goes, So he distracts the workhorse that the giant uses by turning it into a beautiful mare and gets banged by the horse.
That's one way to do it, I guess.
And that's how we get all the weird animals.
There has to have been a better way.
Distract the workhorse. Why not just, drop some food?
That's the abridged version. Neil Gaiman has a pretty good retelling in his Norse mythology book.
That, actually.
Some of them are duds. He doesn't tell it very good for some of them, but that one he does tell very good.
He can spin a good yarn, that guy.
Yeah, he can.
I haven't read much of his work. The only thing that I've really read in any depth is Good Omens.
It's hit and miss. He has some winners, some losers,
Yeah.
some really overhyped books, and plays a whole lot of cliches out.
Everybody says... I remember when I was growing up, everybody was talking about American Gods. I still never read it, so I have no idea if it's actually any good, but I don't think I ever encountered a fantasy book that was that hyped.
It's okay. I mean, for standard modern fantasy fare, not even urban fantasy, just modern fantasy, it's okay. It's not great, but it's okay.
Did he write Sandman as well?
Yes. The comic? Yeah, I think he did.
Anyway, I burbled on enough. I'll leave my week there.
Babble.
Alright. I'm getting bodied by a Rathalos.
So, what happens? We should probably take a break.
Alright. We'll be right back after some tunes. And we're back.
Meals.
So, got bodied by Jaggies.
That's not something you want to admit.
not even Great Jaggy, because
Great-
Great Jaggy isn't in the game.
Great Jaggy didn't bother to turn up for this game.
No.
Just regular Jaggies.
Moneymaker.
Anyway,
Oh dear.
so we were at the end of All's Week, I think.
Yeah, I don't think I've got much else to talk about specifically. Hopefully I'll bring back something to talk about when I'm back from Dunedin. Dunedin is basically our Scotland. If we were England, Dunedin would be our Scotland. That it is literally Scotland. In fact, it's full of people who are of Scottish extraction, and
It's
the city
even
of
got a Scottish
Dunedin.
name.
The city of Dunedin is literally the city of Edinburgh, except plonked down in New Zealand, without any regard for the terrain, which is why it's famous for having unbelievably steep streets, because they just took the same city plan and put it on the landscape, regardless of the particulars of that landscape. So, yeah, not very sensible,
It's so
but
many work.
yeah, very, very typical Scottish disregard for any kind of practicality in favour of just doing it because.
Just doing it. Just do it.
So, all right, I guess we can move on to my weeks then. I have a bunch. I have a little bit of a lot of games, which is unusual for me. But I kind of took the shotgun approach this week.
Yeah, I saw when I logged on to PSN to watch some anime last night. I was like seeing games I didn't recognise you'd been playing.
Yeah, so we'll start with the big PS4 game I've been playing that I've been meaning to talk about, but hadn't put enough time into for weeks because I've been very slowly chipping away at it.
You greedy
And I'll-
MFer! What am I supposed to use to heal me?
Oh, can I put him back?
Nope. You stole his beetle?
No, I stole all the stuff in the supply box because I was on muscle memory from doing it solo.
Oh no.
I do that just automatically when I go solo.
Oh,
I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. Anyway, and there's a good reason it's taken me so long to chip through this game, and I'll get to that in my complaint section about it, and that's Yakuza 7, or Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Ah, yes.
So, we start off this new Yakuza with a new protagonist, Ichiban. And there's some prelude to it with his boss and the history of his Yakuza boss, and how Ichiban has a bunch of great respect for the man, and how it's all fairly well done. And then just like our boy before him, Ichiban goes to jail for a crime he didn't commit.
It seems to be a recurring theme in Yakuza games. Happens all the time.
Yeah, just a thing.
I mean,
Goes to jail for something to do.
honestly, if you're a Yakuza, you're probably guilty of something.
Having impeccable dress sense.
Well,
Only if you think it's impeccable.
I mean, by 80s standards.
So Ichiban is from the 90s-ish era. He goes to jail for 20 years. So he's out of the loop for a bit longer than most of his compatriots. So when he comes back as a fish out of water, he doesn't know things like what a smartphone is. And
Actually,
there's a whole...
That's something that I was really noticing when I was rewatching Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun. Everyone has a flip phone or a slide phone.
Yeah.
That's not a
I tell
thing
you-
so much anymore.
I tell you what, phones have got to be the biggest bane of writers that has ever existed, because they just get in the way of storytelling so hard.
Because they immediately date whatever you're writing.
Well, not that. They're just a plot convenience that solves so many problems that are conventional for storytelling. Like, how do I get somewhere? Oh, I guess we'll have to figure out how we're something. No, check the phone.
How do
It's
I?
not internet.
How do I win a war in a fantasy world that I've been isekai'd to?
Take your smartphone.
Check the internet.
And I just remembered that
Like-
that isekai exists.
oh, this strange mythological creature dropping all these hints has appeared. How will we ever figure out what it is? Let's go to Google.
Oh, it's a sphinx with a riddle. Google.
Oh, we desperately need to get in contact with somebody from across the world, and we're nowhere near civilization. However are we going to get in touch with... We just pull out our phone.
Yeah.
That's what the advance of technology is about. That's the whole point. That's why we bothered to begin with.
Yeah, and that may be great for modern conveniences, not so great for storytelling, because it means you have to come up with all kinds of reasons why the phone doesn't work.
Yeah.
If you seriously get privy to it, so many stories go out of their ways to make phones useless. And if you start noticing it, it becomes apparent in every single story written post, like, 2002.
Yeah. It's usually the first thing that happens in a story is, oh no, something bad's happening. Everyone pulls out their phone. Phones are
No
broken.
coverage. No coverage.
No
So
coverage.
there's no coverage.
Either no coverage or they just don't work because magic. I guess.
I mean, I know in New Zealand and probably in Australia, there's probably still a lot of places that have no coverage, but not that many places.
I'm just going to sit here and just wave.
If you're down with the tunnel people that I work with, yeah, the phones don't work down there.
The
But
mole people.
we're also... Yeah, we also work way underground.
Yeah, they don't work down under the ground.
I don't want to fight them against that wall anymore.
Yeah, it's never a good idea. Don't do that.
But yeah. So he has to learn what a smartphone is. He gets some nice rich guy to teach him, and the guy's actually a genuine nice guy, and teaches him how to invest in business for the big mini game this time. It's business investing is the Facebook game this time.
Oh, does it involve marching up to the front door and just say, "I want to buy it" with a big briefcase?
No, it's not that type of business. It's not.
Is it a
tycoon-y.
transferable skill to real life? Like Mahjong?
You can see how real life influenced this mini game, but nothing here is transferable to real life. No, you're
It's too
insane.
silly.
I mean, yeah, you gotta lay off employees that don't do their job, and you gotta invest the funds in improving the right parts of the business. All that's transferable. to
Laying
real
off
life.
employees that don't do their job is basically illegal in New Zealand.
He's not joking.
I know he's not joking. Oh, dang it! I was just short. Oh well.
Why did you have to take it so far away?
Oh, it's just short of the wall, so he didn't
What
bump.
I'm most interested in, though, is the other big mini game that seems to be in there.
There's a couple. The other one, I'll get to the one I know you want for last, so we can
Aw.
talk about it then. But the second of the three is Part-Time Hero. And this one isn't so much a mini game as an adaptation of the normal game, where Ichiban as a character he is a delusional idiot. And I mean delusional in the dictionary sense of the word.
He
Like, the
suffers from
boys-
actual delusions.
Like, he sees things that aren't there.
Huh.
So he is not our boy Kiryu, who's the stoic, stoic hero man who just goes around and takes things on the chin. No, Ichiban sees himself as a genuine Dragon Quest style hero. So enemies will appear and just transform in front of him. So if some hooligan on the street comes and tries to beat him up, that hooligan may transform into a Dynan Dasher, which is a really fat man that has a big old giant bottle of Coca-Cola that he clubs people over the head with. Or he'll turn into a Sneak Attack, an acupuncturist that wields their acupuncture implements like ninja stars. And this is totally acknowledged. It's just Ichiban is insane, and his party members are like, yeah, I guess sometimes to be a hero, you just gotta be a little crazy.
I think each one needs a doctor.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he needs help.
But no, his party members are totally cool with this.
Yeah, I mean that was half of the real appeal of the original Yakuza series is Kirei just doing the most ridiculous things, completely stone-faced serious.
Kiryu.
Sorry, Kiryu.
It's a dragon.
It is a dragon.
So,
Whereas Ichiban, I'm pretty sure, is a beef ball chain.
might actually be in the game too, now that you mention it. But, But yeah, Ichiban is the polar opposite of Kiryu in every single way. Whereas Kiryu is cool, calm, and collected, Ichiban is a hot-headed, delusional mess. Whereas Kiryu has a dragon and his best friend had a fish on his back, Ichiban has a dragonfish for his tattoo because he thought it was cool. I just found a Rathalos plate on the ground.
That was convenient.
That's hardly fair.
Indeed.
So, but yeah, it's a change going to Ichiban, and in Part-Time Hero, you get to indulge his delusions of being the hero that comes in like a Super Sentai character and rescues people, and it operates mostly in normal gameplay, and you get rewards for helping people in emergencies as they pop up throughout the city. You also, while the introduction starts off in a very restricted version of Kamurocho, you don't stay there. Kamurocho's been the city, like the city, in pretty much every single Yakuza game.
Yeah.
And it's just barely there for the first few chapters so far. Is he gonna run away already? We just got here again.
Nope, he's a jerk. He's gonna run away.
Yeah, so now we're in Sochinbori, a fictional district in Osaka. So there's a lot of water. They're very rural type. Oh no, it's in Yokohama. So they're very, not rural, but
I was gonna
type
say,
people.
Osaka is like, it's still a city, you know, a massively metropolitan city.
Yeah, no. I get my Japanese region words mixed up. But yeah. So we're in Yokohama. We're way away from civilization, and he's running around being a superhero. The third mini game is Mario Kart.
Yeah.
It's not kind of like Mario Kart. It's not, this vaguely resembles Mario Kart. It's Mario Kart called Dragon Kart.
It just is Mario Kart.
You can hop the carts like you can in Mario Kart. The power-ups all are basically Mario Kart items. It is just Mario Kart. And the only difference is you can pay money you earn to upgrade the kart.
So it's Namco Arcade Mario Kart.
I guess.
I think this is just Sega taking the piss and seeing how much they can get away with again.
Yeah, probably. But, so, upgrading the kart's really expensive. You better hit up that casino if you want the money to do it. Which has been a surprising impediment in trying to do everything as I go through the game, and part of the reason it's taking so long. I can't make good progress because everything costs a lot of money, and the only real way to get money is to go to the casino and play poker, that I've found. Now, the way you do this is you just go to the casino and you load up whatever difficulty of poker you can afford, and you save your game before you do it, because you're doing this to make money, so at this point, save scumming is whatever. And then you fight against the AI. And the thing you gotta remember about AI when it plays poker in a game that is not specifically designed around AI to play poker is the AI is dumb as a bag of rocks.
Well, there are actually two ways that can go. Either the AI is dumb as a bag of rocks, or the AI just ruthlessly cheats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
So
somewhere in the middle.
So you play, the only type of poker that exists in the game is Texas Hold'em. So what you do is you just wait until you have an okay hand. Something better than a pair. And then you just keep pushing that raise button over and over and over again. And you will clean out the AI. And this is the only way I've found to make a substantial amount of money in the game. So this has bottlenecked me because I have to keep going back to play poker. Because so many sub-stories and minigames require you to get money in this game. Further hampered by, you don't get that much from random battles. Because we're not an action game anymore. We're a turn-based JRPG. Now, I am not normally one to poo-poo this. This is normally okay with me. I would normally be just fine with this. But there's a few problems. A few quite big problems with it. Number one, the way they do random encounters is the worst I've seen. Well, it's not even random. How they do normal encounters is some of the dumbest I've seen in a long, long time.
Okay.
First off, the random encounters happen at choke points, and you can see them on the map, on the overworld map, and they have a huge line of sight radius.
Eck.
It
So
doesn't sound like a random encounter at all.
yeah, I'm just calling them that out of reflex, but you can see them, but they'll just kind of pop up. But they have a program set spawn point for whatever type of day it is. So if you're in Chapter 7 at a certain point, they're going to always spawn in the same location and be the same type of enemies, the exact same enemies. So what you wind up having happen is they'll spawn, walk about 20 steps down the street. You will encounter them in battle. You'll beat them. You'll walk 3 steps up the street and encounter them again because they respawn at their original spawn point immediately. And you'll have to fight them again, and then you will get to their original spawn point and they will respawn again, and you will have to fight that same pack a 3rd time.
I think maybe they should have thought a bit more hard about this.
Yeah, that sounds like someone just got really lazy.
Yeah, it's really obnoxious and just makes the game take way too long, because there is, aside from calling in the pound mates, which are cute summons the first time, I love summoning a crawfish to come pinch all the baddies' nuts, but that animation still takes a while, and it costs money, which means I have to go play more poker. So the normal encounters in the game really are what drag it down more than anything else, and it just takes so long to do anything because you got to fight so many dudes, and the animations are not click, attack, quickly plays. It is, they happen loaded onto the world map wherever the encounter happens.
Right.
So what will happen is you'll load onto the world map, and the enemies will spawn there when they see you, and you'll pull out your weapons, and they'll pull out their weapons, and you will get your Persona-style menu, attack, summon pound mate, skills, and etc. other. Or whatever it is. Something very close to that. And, let's say you pick the basic attack option. Your character has to find a way to path around everything between you and the enemy before they do the attack.
Oh, no.
So, this can lead to your homeless buddy getting stuck holding his umbrella behind a shopping cart or something.
Yeah.
So he just can't make it? He can't get to the enemy in a timely manner? It's awful.
It's like Kamurocho. It's like, people are not shy about just leaving random crap laying in the street.
Yeah, there's garbage everywhere. And because you can't punch it, you can't break it ahead of time. Because, remember, we're a JRPG now, we're not an action game, so we can't just punch junk in our way.
All objects in the overworld are immortal now.
Yes.
Oh, you can break them. It's just, you gotta run into them repeatedly and jam them against your body and the geometry of whatever they're leaning up against.
That sounds more like a mechanism just to prevent the player getting stuck than actually removing an obstacle.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. So if you hump whatever's giving you trouble enough, eventually it will break.
That's bad.
So I'm unloading all of the dislikes about the game early in this one, so I can talk about the good stuff. But the other bad thing is this is a party-based JRPG, and they decided, instead of having the magical party pocket in a world with collision on everything, to have your party members follow you around on a Yakuza map. Which
so
means
everyone
if you're
gets
going,
stuck at the pachinko parlor.
well, what happens is, you know what cities and Yakuza games are like. They have tiny alleyways, and you gotta run down them, and that's just kind of the way things do.
Full of hobos and bicycles. Yes.
Yeah. Well, if you decide you need to turn around in that alleyway, or that alleyway dead ends, like most of them do, guess what?
Oh, they gave you companions collision?
Uh-huh.
Oh, it's the worst.
Why would they do that? Who would be so cruel?
We'd figured out
So-
by the point of maybe Final Fantasy IV that was a bad idea.
Yeah, well, somebody didn't tell the Yakuza team. Because what happens is you wind up dry humping all the people in your party until they get out of your way.
Unseemly behavior.
Quite so.
Especially because the girl in your party has a very sexual voice.
Oh no.
It doesn't help things.
Oh no.
Oh no is right. So, there are no female enemies in the game, but you get one female party member who is not actually the action girl type, which I was quite happy with. She's just a normal girl, but she doesn't have the same combat aptitude as the boys. Instead, she's mostly a support party member who does things like throw beer and wine if you have her as the bartender class in the enemies' heads, or she dresses up as an idol to sing magical songs that heal the party. This is points like that where the system starts to go, you see what they were going for here. The other is like with your another one of your party members you get, this first one you get is a bum.
He's just
His job is literally homeless bum. So and he's your squishy wizard type. Oh dang it, I'm riding again. Oh, hang on, I gotta find a wall. Bonk.
Bonk.
Yeah, I gotta go for a triple bonk.
Well, bonk.
I got a quadruple bonk once. I'm almost sure of it.
But yeah. So the bum is a squishy wizard type, and he has moves like stanky breath, where he can breathe on enemies' faces and make them have to inhale his stanky breath, and this lowers their defense.
Oh no.
And when the game's pulling this kind of stuff and playing with it a little bit, is when you see what they were going for and it really works. The only problem is they just ain't got the basic stuff we've learned years ago down, like how to do normal encounters, or how to handle money when there's random encounters involved. Or not random, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They just don't have some of this basic stuff down, and it really gets in the way. So it's actually really hard for me to recommend. And it's sad, really, that I don't have an immediate recommendation already, because Ichiban's a really fun character. Like, Ichiban himself is, Kiryu is okay for Kiryu, but he's kind of a potato.
Yeah. Which
Ichiban
is why
has
it's so much fun to watch him do silly things.
Ichiban is a character that's been through Kiryu's circumstances, except he's not a vegetable. So he actually has responses to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been pleasantly surprised that the game doesn't actually... It goes out of its way not to spoil Yakuza... any of the prior Yakuza games, except for apparently the ending of Yakuza 6, which I haven't seen. So, you can pretty safely go into this game without having played the prior franchise, and as long as you know loosely how the Yakuza series works, and what you're getting in for is silly fun times, you should be able to get away with playing this game and not having played the other ones, which I think is what they were going for.
Alright.
So that's something. Although, honestly, you're doing yourself a disservice if you at least don't play Zero.
Yeah, at least go play Zero.
Yeah, Zero's great. They do have a lot of throwbacks to the older Yakuza games, which I'm not generally a big fan of, that are not spoilers, but like sub-story references. Like the gangster boss who has a thing for being babied in a diaper.
Oh,
Is
right,
a boss
that guy.
Is a boss fight again. And you get to add him. So the pound mates thing that I mentioned earlier are summons you get for completing sub-stories. And these are buddies you can call on your phone to come and help you during fights. And they act as a single-use per fight summon, but they cost money. So they cost poker time is what that means.
Yes.
In reality. So you can get like the diaper wearing Yakuza boss, and you can the crawfish I mentioned before You help a homeless bum. He's all sad. You see this crawfish on the bridge, and you throw it back in the ocean because you're like, oh, poor crawfish. What are you doing up here on land? So you chuck it back in the river, and this homeless man goes, "No, Nancy, how dare you?" Nancy's the homeless bum's pet. So you're like, oh man, I feel really bad, man. Okay, I'll go help you find your pet. So you go find it and you bring it back. It's like, oh, thanks. I've been raising her to eat her for so long. And Ichiban's like, wait, what? No, you can't eat. You can't eat Nancy. And he has to find a reason to keep this guy from eating Nancy and get him other stuff to eat.
Oh,
So
no.
the side quests are still the side quests.
Complete
Very
nonsense.
Yakuza.
And so after you rescue good old Nancy, Nancy joins the Pound Mates and can be called on the telephone to be summoned into battle to come pinch people's balls off.
You can call a crawfish on the
Just a
telephone.
crawfish.
Yeah, she'll show up even during boss fights. She's one of the few that's available even during boss fights.
Don't ask questions. There are no answers.
And she will literally just come and pinch balls off. That's what she do.
Yeah, that's just Yakuza in a nutshell, really.
So all the Yakuza flavor is there. Its Yakuza-ness hasn't been lost in this transition. It's just they don't quite understand the genre they're trying to break into. And I'm a little frustrated at that because I know people are going to blame the JRPG genre as a whole for it. Because they just don't execute on it right. They just haven't learned anything.
Mm.
So it's unfortunate, but it be what it is. And so that's Yakuza. What else have I played? Played a bit more Shadowverse. You can watch the stream if you want to see a better explanation of how the game works last week. It'll be easier to see than explain anyway, because it's one of those type of games.
Is the event still ongoing?
Yes, so they have a tournament going right now. And the way their tournaments work is they have cups. And they're broken up into rounds. They have the qualifier round where as long as you win one game, and you can play basically as much as you want, you pass the qualifier round. And depending on how many wins you got in a row, you qualify for Group B or Group A. Group B is all the nubs, so you want to be in Group B. And then
My dignity.
well, I mean, I don't have the kind of... I'm not dumped the money dash into the game to be able to compete in Group A. I'm sorry. I don't have...
So it's based heavily around meta cards that you absolutely need?
Yeah, it's a rotation tournament. So only the sets that are in rotation, which means only the whales are really rocking Group A, so you don't want to get stuck in that group. So in Group I got put into Group B, and if you win 3, you're then in the second round when you get put into Group A or B, you play sets, and you play those sets in sets of 5 matches, and you just play one match after another each game against different people. And if you win 3 of those 5, you qualify for the finals, and you can play as many sets of 5 as you want. But after you get 1 free entry per day, but after the first one, you have to pay for them. And each round lasts for about 3 or 4 days. So I managed to qualify for the finals through the dumbest method possible by being absolute cancer.
Why are you going to be such a bad person, Aristeal?
So what I did was I built a deck that plays Havencraft, so the church character. And I built it around the current Primo deck you can buy with temporary gems. And got all those cards from the pre-built deck. And the whole point of the deck is to set up a control card on the field that doesn't have a timer on it, so it stays on the field, and give your hero the permanent effect at the end of your turn, deal X damage to your opponent, where X equals the number of turns that have passed minus 5. And people only have 20 health in this game.
Oh my.
And then, in addition to that, the control card that stays on the field triggers whenever you heal yourself. So the deck is just crammed full of heal yourself cards. So the whole point of this cancerous deck is to spam heal yourself while you put the opponent on a turn timer.
That's just cruel and unusual.
Yes, it is. It is incredibly cancer. I knew this while I was building it. In fact, the objective was to frustrate the opponent.
How many people quit rather than seeing it out to the end?
2. But I won my 3 out of 5. And qualified for finals, and we'll see how that goes. But if you qualify for the finals, period, as long as you just play your finals matches, you get the tournament rewards. You get some pity rewards if you don't qualify. But I've qualified now, so I'll get the profile icon and the animated Idolmaster cards, which are just retrains of older cards, but with Idolmaster artwork. So, looking forward to see what the finals are like and getting my butt kicked. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I didn't do a good job explaining why it's better than Hearthstone before, but because it's really hard when I don't remember much of Hearthstone, it's been so long. But the game just flows better. The people that made it knew what they were doing. The cards are more sensibly balanced, and they clearly had a plan from the get-go on what they wanted to do with the classes. Like, you have your Druid deck, which is a ramp deck, that plays a card to sacrifice its current turn to ramp its turn count ahead to have more mana on the next turn. You have that in this game, but that deck also has extra effects where doing that will add health to all the dragons currently in your deck and stuff. So you don't completely give yourself, and you can make a full strategy around both mechanics working together. Whereas Hearthstone, it was just like, oh yeah, you can just ramp a turn. And there wasn't a whole lot of extra thought put into it.
But the coin.
But these cards, yeah, the coin isn't in this game, but second turn player gets to draw 2.
Yeah.
And starts one with an extra Evo point. So you don't have stupid the coin shenanigans, which was really dumb. And I'm having a lot of fun with it for what it is. Let's see. There ain't much more to talk about on it. It's just more of the same. You saw it last week if you want to go see it. Other games I've been playing. We talked about FGO already. I'll wait till Vol's back and has finished the Indian Lost Belt to talk about it probably in full. Because I like it better than Sin already, although that's mostly because...
You're not setting the bar very high, bro.
Yeah, I know. But it's mostly from Scandinavia, Papariciano.
I think it's Peperoncino. I'm not sure.
I've always read it as Papariciano. So I'm going to continue that.
He's flamboyant.
Oh,
I'm not sure. He's flamboyantly something, but I'm not quite sure what he is flamboyantly being.
He may or may not be gay AF, but he's definitely gay AF.
Just flamboyance incarnate.
Have you seen what he looks like?
I have not. Do I really want to?
I'll help you with this.
Oh no.
But he is an amazing villain in air quotes. And so far, I think he's actually being genuine, is my theory.
I think he's being genuine, but I think that he will almost certainly still be the villain in the end.
Yeah, I think he will have a last stand after everything's said and done.
Yeah.
Where you still have to punch him in the face.
He is a crypto, and you are going to have... He is, he did betray humanity. He's still your enemy. But he's on your side for the time being at the beginning, I think. But you're still going to have to beat the crap out of him in the end.
Yeah, he's amazing. But he is your buddy.
When I encountered him, I was like, I have a funny feeling Ari's going to love this character for some reason.
So he has the most horrifying portraits in the world, just on top of everything else. I can't find those offhand.
I think it's a toss up between him and Columbus.
Yeah, he gives Columbus a run for his money. I will attempt to dig some up while I talk. Just having to type out Scandinavia whenever I go search for it.
That's his name, not the country he's from.
Yeah, so he has to constantly remind the protagonist that they're actually enemies. Because he winds up being a frenemy this one.
Okay.
That second one on the second row pops up way,
way too much when he's being happy.
Honestly, he looks like a JoJo character.
Yeah. Yeah,
A little
he
bit.
does.
I mean, he's got the more fine lined art style than JoJo characters have, but he's definitely from that universe.
He's got the flamboyance.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
he talks
do.
about his complexion and how hard it is to take care of all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he goes on to spiel with all the other girls about how they need to take care of their skin. And how it's important to get their sleep and eat their bananas.
What?
Have you seen the dude?
I mean, I have many
I thought-
questions.
I do too, but we'll get those as we progress. I assume.
Well, the point, how often does that irritatingly smug face turn up?
The second one on the second row.
Yeah.
You get to see a lot of his faces very often. Like, he's very expressive.
Yeah, he's a very talkative and happy dude. He's totally not like the other cryptors, and has an actual character to him.
Well,
Which-
we don't actually know anything about him. We don't know how genuine that personality is.
Yeah, but even if it is a facade, it presents a character for us to attach to.
He's still
Which
a
is-
Magus after all.
Yeah, it can all be fake, and he can still be the standard mage sociopath. But he presents a character for us to attach to, which is something that I think the others have lacked. Ophelia, Kadok, and Vampire Girl. They all just they felt flat. Like, Kadok has his complexes, but that's not enough to attach onto. There's no personality behind it. Ophelia was just a preemie normie girl that wants the boy.
No, she was crushed under the expectations of the people around her.
Yeah,
Like, she had
But-
more power than she had talent, but wasn't able to live up to people's expectations and so on. Like, it was quite similar to Kadok in a lot of ways, but hitched onto her obsession with Kushtaria.
yeah. So then you had I Love My Centaur Man. And that's about as much as I remember of
But
Akuda's character.
she's not even human, so
Yeah, but there's just a distinct lack of personality in a villain. I mark as a detriment when I'm enjoying the story, and just raw enjoyment factor.
do you have an Ibushi rampage up? Because I still need to farm him.
Do I? I do not.
Nor do I.
Sad.
Oh wait, yeah, I do. I was looking at the wrong one. But yeah, so there's that. I'm excited to see where it goes. I like that we have a villain with a personality now. What else?
Well, I mean, you've got a Crypto with a personality. The villain is sort of the opposite of that.
Yeah, the villain's kind of the opposite of that. But something tells me he's more of a device than a villain.
Well, I
I-
don't know. Maybe there will be some story underneath all of that. I mean, it seems
I-
reasonable to suppose that would be the case, because I don't think that you can really, just keep going with that type of character throughout an entire story. Like, something has to change his outlook.
Yeah, well, we'll get. It's too early to call on Arjuna yet. But just seeing one of the main advertised baddies having a personality makes me happy. So I'm already more invested in the story just because of that, and the character writing is just better so far. Like, except for Karna going peace early, and I get why Neza had what happened, got Neza'd the way she did, because you kind of need a sudden impact like that sometimes.
Yeah, especially considering she's such a fixture.
Yeah,
Like, she's appeared a lot in the recent story, and having that taken away from you is kind of jarring. Which is
I'm not gonna
what
lie.
it really needed.
I'm not gonna lie. I was incredibly happy when she died, so I didn't have to read her text
It's kind of slow.
in
I mean,
2
'cause she was
words
a
at a
fixture.
time.
She was kind of a fixture because she was always present in Salem and always present in Sin. So you're just sort of used to having her around?
Yeah. So glad that she's I hate to say I'm glad that she's gone, but I'm glad that she's gone. Just because I hate reading her text. And her
Sounds
text
real
is
bad,
just
brother.
so painful to read. She talks 2 words at a time. Both words are capitalized. And this is how she talks. So that just absolutely drives me up the wall.
Honestly, though, I know she's got a lot of fans, but I find that Janako is just discount Oki.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of
Discount
Janako.
Oki.
They
She's horning in on Oki's act, as far as I'm concerned.
I don't have too strong opinions one way or the other with Janako yet. I'm giving her a chance because she has had some good one-liners, but we'll have to see what they do with her. Although basically she's just video games and fat jokes. So yeah, there's one more game I can roll on if we don't have any way to stretch the news. Depends
Well,
on
there's
if y'all.
really no news this week, and
We still have the email as well, though.
we just
Yeah.
have an email.
I stole one of your potions.
That's okay.
That's deserved.
Well, it doesn't really matter in this map because you don't cart to failure. So
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll quickly touch on the other game I've been playing. The other game I've been messing with was Abo's Fault,
Yes.
as usual, and it's a WIFO game. Oh no, not this map.
did we get the worst one?
Yeah, we did.
Well,
Boo.
you can try and guard 2 places at once.
Oh no, it's yeah. All right, we'll figure it out. But yeah, that's Princess Connect Redive, and here is just in case you weren't sure how stupid Crunchyroll is. Crunchyroll's pretty dumb
Yeah.
and
They
really bad at their job. So they localized this game. The localization doesn't have any major issues, according to Abo, and he claims he doesn't speak Japanese, but he's also a liar. Because that boy can practically read Japanese. So, there's that. And he claims there's no major problems with the localization. The problem with Princess Connect, or Pinecone, as the fan base abbreviates it, is Crunchyroll doesn't know how to deal with an online game. They have things like no anti-cheat in a gacha game.
Oh no.
With clan battles and PvP.
Oh no. But why?
I do not know.
That makes absolutely no sense.
It's really, really stupid. So nobody really has any idea why the heck Crunchyroll is handling this so badly. The game is
Crunchyroll, and they're singularly incompetent at everything that they do.
I mean, yes. But it's kind of astonishing just how incompetently they're handling this. To make matters worse, because they have to do a massive ban wave every time a clan war happens because they have no anti-cheat, it takes forever for them to get the weekly clan war results out. So you don't get your weekly rewards right when the week ends at reset. Which is unfortunate because the actual game there is fairly not fun, but interesting is a word I'd use for it. It's an auto battler with a gacha system with waifus. I mean, I'm not sure what you expect here.
Yeah, I've seen. I watched the whatchamacallit, HoloLive. They did a joint marketing thing, HoloLive Ian.
Yeah. So it's hard to describe to people that haven't that don't have a good handle on it. But basically, your protagonist is a genuine retard. Like, the boy chews on money because he doesn't know what it is. and can't speak because he's an idiot.
Yeah, it's like in the anime as well. It's not because he's an idiot. It's just because he's lost all of his intellectual capacity.
Yeah, he has been completely reset. And there's apparently a story to this, but the first Pinecone flopped pretty hard, from what I understand. And so we don't have... well, we don't have the context for that. All the story that happened still happened, and you get it drip-fed to you. And it's like something happened, and we got the bad end of the original Pinecone. And now everybody thinks they've been living in this isekai world forever. Oh, you're riding that thing, and I'm sitting here shooting it with a cannon.
Yeah, that's not what I want you to do.
Yeah. But yeah, so we don't know what's going on there. And the game has genuinely interesting characters, though. Forest Lollymommy is amazing, and her reaction faces are the best. I sent you pictures.
I know, but still, what?
I'm afraid I only know them by their names, so if you say that, I don't know who you're talking about.
Girl. The forest girl with the staff.
The one that takes care of you initially.
Yeah. Forest Lollymommy.
Forest Lollymommy. Why?
Yeah, she's sure. She has to baby the protagonist because the protagonist is really dumb. So, yeah, she has amazing reaction faces, and her getting used to the world alongside the protagonist, because she's not really used to modern accoutrements, but at least she has mental functions.
Yeah, she at least has adaptability because she's not stupid, but the main character, not so much.
So the antics they get into together are interesting. Pecorine is fairly one note, but she's one of the poster girls. She just likes
very
FUD.
popular. She's very popular because she wants to eat all the time.
There's always one.
Which I can sympathize with, I suppose.
Yep, she just liked the FUD am good. Oh, we had set up hunting installations. Should have done that sooner.
Mm-hmm.
Professionalism.
Yep. So, yeah, you get fun girls like the superhero, a girl who has special powers that are unique and definitely not magic, that will sleep fly, and she can't control these superpowers, but she's also she's a narcoleptic, so she just sleeps everywhere. So their gimmicks are fun and their character stories are fun, but the management by Crunchyroll is awful.
Well, yes, that's Crunchyroll in a nutshell, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they have included the biggest scam in the world, where you can give up the equivalent of Saint Quartz for QP.
What?
And it's a daily mission.
What?
So, you're giving out the resource that you spend real money on for a resource which they hand out like candy.
Well, they don't hand it out super like candy, but yeah, you can farm it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're guilty of using rainbow apples, so
I did back during one of my spurges when I ran out of apples.
Those are the things you just don't ever use. They could be useful one day.
I use apples all the time. I don't have enough time to play to worry about not using apples.
Rainbow ones?
No, I don't use apples ever. I've never used one.
Right.
Yeah, I have used apples occasionally. Actually, it was just during one big spurge that I can remember, or I used all my normal apples because I had a lot of free time and I wanted to get caught up. So I started munching on rainbow apples. So yeah, that's pretty much all I've been doing, and that's a lot of games, but it's a whole lot of not progress in those games. So I haven't actually made it very far in any of them because my attention's been so divided, and it's normally why I try and avoid this type of thing.
Yeah. All right. We are actually. Oh, grief! We're actually a fair way into the show.
Yep, we should read that email and do whatever news we got and wrap it.
Yep. So, who's got the email up?
I think you're on this one, Fern, because me and Ball are about to get bodied.
Oh, right. Right. Okay. Bear with me a moment.
Well, I mean, I could just keep pulling the trigger and read.
I mean, you could.
Yeah, no excuses. Everything is back on track. My PC is repaired, so I can tell you more about Doom mods. But first, if you want to know how we ended up in this timeline, one of the leading theories is about that gorilla being shot in the zoo when everything started going to S. Progress is being made in Azure Lane. My fleets are around level 70, getting their third limit break. I'm still getting creamed by the opening salvo from the enemy in the PvP mode, but I can at least mostly AFK the fights. Well, it is bold of you to assume I don't just auto-skip the story in Azure Lane. I mean, it's a story of ships pretending to be girls, or girls pretending to be ships, skating on water and being cute, blowing each other up. A milsim fag like me just can't take this stuff seriously. My brain homes in on the whole blowing up part, and despite what feminists think, that men hate women on a genetic level, my psyche has a pretty serious aversion to seeing the females of my race getting killed or tortured. But with my PC back, I can finally carry on with FF14. The only stuff left is pretty much leveling other classes and crafting. Apparently, the Crafting Beast Tribe dailies teaches you that the Moogles are a super lazy bunch. So much so that the devs hid their unlock behind a long chain of normal quests that you would never find without the wiki, and that the dwarves' answer to a problem is building a metal slug tank. Based. Cerathus.
So, boat waifus.
Boat waifus. Yes, they the meta for the PvP is naturally completely different from that of the PvE. But as a result, there aren't really that many broad combinations that work particularly well. I had a really, really good PvP fleet. I was able to make it really high in the rankings quite a few times.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes a lot of attention to do it, and you need a lot of time, to be quite honest, to be particularly successful. But you need to think about your positioning and where your barrages are going to land. I tended to use barrage focused ones, although I did have a carrier based PvP team as well. But I prefer barrages. But there are certain ones that you kind of need, because they are, for one reason or another, just too powerful to do without. Their effect is too great. I can't remember which ones offhand. I think Akagi was one of them. No, not Akagi. Amagi was one of them, because she was, if I recall, she was a battleship that just reduced the total health or something that the opposing fleet had, or something like that. I don't remember. It's been a long time, but I did build her up specifically for that. But the PvP is, in spite of how asinine it can be at times, it's an extremely good way of getting easy EXP for your ships, so you shouldn't skip it. But I guess I'm not overly focused on, the girls blowing each other up or whatever, because honestly the game doesn't really focus on that either. There are only a couple of scenarios where a character actually dies, and they're quite rare. Like, unfortunately, it does introduce you to the game with that happening, I think, at one point. But you know, realistically, they are all warships, and warships sink, so them's the breaks, I guess. But I think Hood dies pretty early on in the story. But then, since the story doesn't make any distinction between timelines, there are plenty of places where she appears alive and well anyway.
So, whatever.
Yeah, but just because a character meets a sticky end doesn't mean that they aren't going to be, popular and shilled constantly by the developer. Because, like, for instance, Amagi is a character who's, in some timelines she's dead and she's canonically extremely sickly. But there's a meme in the Japanese fan base that Western gamers have a fetish for sick girls, because Amagi's super, super popular in the West.
It's kind of weird.
But yeah. I liked Azure Lane a lot. I think that it's got a lot going for it, and it's a very generous gacha, but, I can only play so many gacha games. There's just not hours in the day to do otherwise.
Yeah. Right, boss
Yeah.
time.
FF14 though, man, how I wish I could play that.
I'm
Uh,
considering it again. That I'll jump in and actually just burn through the story.
We'll see how PSO2 launch goes. Like, I'm going to be out for a week, so I'm not going to be playing it at launch regardless, which I think is probably to my benefit, since I expect everything will explode.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think I gave it 80-20 odds. They are taking a full 2-day maintenance prep time.
Yeah, so we'll see.
well, I mean, if nothing else, I'll say that shows a level of responsibility that, say, Blizzard never bothered to show.
Yeah. As long as they don't
I
have
mean,
things like having to reinstall the game every time you turn your computer off again.
they're trying to do so much wonky stuff with New Genesis that something's going to break.
I just stopped following it because I couldn't discern which things were actually going to be in the game and which things were dreams to be released later.
Yeah.
So I posted the 2 pictures in the MMO thread that are fairly concrete stuff we know that's come directly from the live stream. So let's see. We're getting the official launch, I think at 1 a.m. on Pacific time, so 2 a.m. Eastern, on the 9th for the game. Bravery class will be released in August. Bouncer class will be released in fall. We'll get a major content update in the winter. And that will then in Summoner and Pets will come in spring or later. They have or later there. So a little worrying, but what can you do?
Yeah, they're spreading things out a bit. It's not like the super duper fast deployment that we had for base.
Yeah,
It's nice.
I like the idea of being able to get in on the ground floor, but it's also playing an MMO is kind of a big ask. So
Yeah, you really need to be able to dedicate some time to it.
yeah, and unfortunately, I'm an old person now, so I don't have that much time.
Got a gerb.
I'm gonna gerb.
But it's looking alright so far. Having that 2-day prep that they're just shutting everything down completely is actually kind of reassuring.
It makes me more hopeful, but I am worried.
Yeah, I think that I don't think it's going to do any harm, but I think in this case, it's probably they're better off being more cautious than less cautious.
Yeah.
So yeah. Incidentally, if you had the bright idea that you would log on to PSO2 and pick up any last minute cosmetics, you're too late.
Yeah, the shop's been cleaned out.
Cleaned out is an understatement.
Picked clean to the bone, and then someone's run over the bones as well.
Yeah, let me put it this way. Stuff that used to cost, a few tens of thousands a meseta now cost hundreds of millions.
Mm-hmm. That said, though, there's a few goodies to be gained by just logging in.
Yeah, if you log in for the next 2 days, you will. I'm just gonna go ahead and head to the next area. Screw this guy.
Yeah, you can get a bunch of star gems just for logging in. There's another goodies pack you get if you do an urgent quest.
Yeah, and you just get a whole bunch of little tiny things to tide you over. But the star gems are the big thing. You get 210 star gems just for showing up for these next two. The last 2 days.
Patch the game.
Yeah, I had to reinstall it because it just choked and died. So that was fun.
Thankfully, the patch sheet is done through Steam now. Like, a sane game company.
Except it's not. Well, it sometimes is.
It's
part of it is not.
Yeah.
That was my experience anyway.
It is a wonky, messed up system.
So yeah, you still gotta deal with that, but oh no, Bushi.
Yeah. Although there is a crossover event going on at the moment with Sword Art Online, which proves that Kirito ruins everything.
Just so
So Kirito joins. The game shuts down for 2 days.
Yeah, the game is shutting down and going into essentially an extended maintenance mode. So, yeah, Kirito ruined it. It's all Sword Art Online's fault.
Why would you do this, Kirito? Why you got to be this way all the time?
Because he's got to ruin everything by being an edgy isekai protagonist. Isekai.
It's just
What is that?
the very last anything we get from PSO2 is a crossover event with SAO.
Yeah.
That this hurts.
What a denouement.
Though it is nice to see that they've actually put effort into the cutscenes, sort of.
Oh, for this crossover?
Yeah. Which just
No,
means
it
you get to
doesn't.
see Kirito's dead-eyed stare close up.
It doesn't help at all. In fact, I think it makes it worse that these are the only crossover event cutscenes we got that were animated.
Yeah. Also, is Matoi always that sparkly? She's
Yes.
excessively sparkly.
Yeah, she's
Well,
a sparkly girl.
I just don't remember her being that sparkly. So yeah.
what that
So
thing
yeah,
works
if
on the-
we'll see how PSO2 goes. It might keep my attention. If it doesn't, though, I might jump into Final Fantasy. There's so much I need to catch up on that game.
Yeah.
But I still want to play Monster Hunter, and I want to play FGO, and
Mm-hmm.
I want to play FF14, and
But we have to adult.
I don't want to. It sucks.
Alright, so let us dive into some good news, of which there is a mixed bag.
Oh, PSO2 was. Thank you for the email, Certhus. But
Yes.
there is a. Mixed bag is a word for it. It's not the word I would use for it. I would say there is no bag. In fact, the bag has left the building.
It's because we're in the pre-E3 doldrums. The celebrations, as such as E3 is anymore. It all starts kicking off next week. There's a whole bunch of different announcements all queued for the 9th, I believe. There is the main E3, as they're calling it, the E3 Awards event, whatever that means. That is happening on the 15th, if I've got my memory correct. So it means that there's just a big old blob of nothing.
Yeah.
There are
Like-
other events going on at the moment, like there's the Warhammer Bones Festival, or the Skulls Festival, rather.
You get announced a whole bunch of disappointment.
Yeah.
Yeah, a whole bunch
Because
of games, whole bunch of
it's-
DLCs.
It's still Warhammer games, so they're guaranteed to be complete garbage, pretty much.
Except maybe one. Because there's enough of them there that maybe one of them will be good.
Yeah, if only by chance.
Yeah.
Was that the tail? Did we just get the tail?
Yeah, we got the tail.
Yay. You got the leaks from 2K. No point really going over those because we'll find out the truth behind all that next week anyway. So, yeah, there's not much to go over. And so what we'll probably end up doing is next week we'll have a nonsense show. We'll figure something out for that. And then the week after that will be the E3 roundup.
Presuming anything happens at E3 and then anybody shows up.
If nothing else, we can give it our utter contempt.
Uh,
Which we have
isn't,
no shortage of.
isn't Keeley doing some kind of like Summer Games Fest as a competitor?
I don't know if that's happening anymore. I think it happened last year, but
I don't know. But I mean, because it seemed like he was one of the people who really wanted to like architect the death of E3 in favor of placing him at the center of everything, because apparently that's how he rolls.
so here we go. A bunch of stuff is happening on the 12th and the 13th. The 13th being the main day, so you've got Xbox and Bethesda. Square Enix is on the 13th, and the PC show. And the Future Games show, which I think is something new. Whatever that is.
We actually show video game show, maybe?
Probably not, no. I'm thinking it's more like, this is how woke we're going to make the games in the future. Because, yeah, no, that's coming.
Yeah. Well, they already do that. It's called, just making video games.
It's called E3, yeah.
How
So-
much you want to bet? Because Pride Month has been heavier than normal this year, that it's all going to be gay.
Somehow it manages to feel even more forced than normal this year.
I haven't actually
Yeah.
noticed it, but I don't social media, so
Yeah, if you spend any time on social media, you'll be drowning in it.
yeah.
If you spend any time in in America driving, you can see how bad it is this year.
I
like-
choose death.
I know very few gay people, but the ones that I do know have been utterly repulsed by what they've seen this year.
I've noticed that too. Like I know a handful, and they are always disgusted by the nonsense that they see, particularly on social media. So, yeah.
Hey Ari, I just got a wind serpent orb.
Nice.
But what am I
anyway.
going to do with it?
So yeah, I think that if anything, when we come back in 2 weeks at full strength, we're going to have. You know what? I think that show's probably just going to be a funeral for E3.
Yeah. You know what's sad though? They're gonna blame E3's death on the coof.
Probably
Oh.
yes, but
Not
E3
not
was-
because they were a bunch of industry shills who didn't have the hobby or the industry or the customers at heart, but only their own sort of facilitating the continued existence of a bunch of redundant journalism in quotes and marketing jobs. Like, ugh.
I'd love to see it kind of be what it used to be, where it was a big festival where all these companies would come out and show their new ideas and celebrate with their customers.
But I mean, what it is now is what socialist types like to refer to as late stage capitalism, which is just a completely degenerate shell of its former self.
It's a husk. Filthy husk. So, like, yeah. Like, in previous E3s, we've seen great ideas. We've seen really, really bad ideas. Wii Music, for example.
Does Ubisoft still go?
No, I think Ubisoft.
Or do they have their own one?
This year.
I'm trying to remember which people actually show up and which ones are elsewhere now.
Yeah, it looks like we've got Xbox, Bethesda, the PC and the Future Game Show, whatever those are. Capcom, Bandai, Take-Two. They've got Nintendo in this list as well, but Nintendo's doing its usual thing. That's about it. There's nothing left, really. Although Bethesda is probably going to just be the only one showing anything of value at the show by showing the new Elder Scrolls game, and that's all anyone will talk about.
Instead of you playing a game during that week during the show, I think you just need to have that African coffin dance GIF playing on loop.
Just play that on loop. Typically, I don't play a game during the E3 recap, so I can put that in the corner.
Yeah.
I love that meme. It is a great meme.
No.
So, yeah, you've got EA, you've got I think Gearbox is doing their own, Nintendo's doing their own, Ubisoft, who even knows anymore, and frankly, who cares? Epic is doing their own as well at some point. Square Enix is in the actual E3 bundle, as is Microsoft. Sony, I think, has actually said they're not doing one at all.
Well, I mean, they're kind of in the doldrums right now. If they just don't have anything to talk about, why bother to spend the money?
That, and if they do have nothing to talk about and they try to talk about it, Sony's been losing a lot of goodwill with people lately.
Yeah, having no show usually comes off better than having a show, but there's nothing of interest on it.
Yeah. Although, hang on. There is one title I am interested in, which I'll have to see what's announced, which is 2 Point Campus, which is basically 2 Point Hospital, except applied to academia. 2 Point Hospital is basically a modern retake of Theme Hospital.
I see.
So, in other words, it's going to turn academia into, well, actually, a probably fairly accurate simulator. Here we are. Here's a proper schedule, as long as I haven't missed anything else on it. So we got the Warhammer Skulls going on at the moment. That's today. On the 5th, there is the Indie Festival and the Guerrilla Collective, whatever that is. 9th is a new Battlefield game. On the 10th is the Summer Games Fest, which is Keeley's doohickey. I don't know what
That is
that
on.
is. That's apparently that is on, yes. On the 12th is the first big day. We have what is called the Wholesome Games Direct. I don't know what that is. Ubisoft seems to be in there on the 12th. IGN is on the 12th. Gearbox and Devolver. 13th is Xbox Bethesda. And they're together now because Xbox bought Bethesda out. Square Enix, PC, and Future Games. The 14th is Freedom Games, Limited Run Games, Take-Two, Capcom, and Mythical. 15th is Nintendo, the E3 Awards show, which is probably going to be a whole bunch of fart sniffing. Bandai, Eureka, and GameSpot. Why is GameSpot doing a panel?
GameSpot still exists?
Apparently.
Huh.
Like,
The 16th is Steam, which is where Steam basically puts out a whole bunch of demos, which they did last year, which is actually really cool. I liked that event. It was like just a whole bunch of just demos, and nobody does demos anymore. 17th is TennoCon for Warframe. The 22nd is EA, who is coming in way behind the crowd. And there's a whole bunch of other ones that still yet to nail down a date. Why is EA so late? Wow.
EA are not really in a good place right now in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
Like,
EA is a month behind everyone else, by the way. They're actually in the 22nd of July, not the 22nd of June.
because they won't have anything. Well, no, number one, there's nothing really to be gained by showing off the new FIFA or the new Madden at any particular point in time.
But
or
that's
the
what they've been
new-
doing for the last 10 years.
Yeah, but there's no benefit to doing it at a particular point.
Mm.
It doesn't matter when they do it. People will just like, oh, okay, so yeah, it's coming out.
It's
But
a FIFA, it's a Madden.
as far as their other stuff are concerned, like, what are they going to say if they don't have like a Battlefield ready to show or whatever? Like, that needs to be ready to go.
Yeah, which is why they've put that at the front, and then the EA thing is a month later.
Yeah, like they don't really need. They're just not in a great place right now, to be honest. As far as like the head to head of Call of Duty versus Battlefield go, Battlefield was pretty soundly trounced.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the pendulum will swing back the other way in due course, but you can't really make it happen. They just need to sort of regain their ground at this point. I mean, there aren't many publishers / developers that have really been willing to swallow their pride and get back to basics the way Capcom did. So a lot of these, they have to ride these trends out till they run straight into the ground before they're going to actually recover.
Yeah, I think Capcom actually ran aground fairly early. Like they had a couple of really big flops, high-profile flops in a row.
well, I mean, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite happened.
As did Street Fighter V.
Marvel vs. Capcom and Infinite and Street Fighter V are sort of the cherries on a cake, which had been, descending into infamy since, like, I think probably the point where people were willing to sign off on Capcom as just a non-entity for the next few years would probably be Asura's Wrath.
That or Resi 6.
Resi 6 was after that though, and I think that Resi 6
Was
was Resi 6. I think it was, and I think that Resi 6 was also just the double underline in red for Resi 5, which was just not good, and it wasn't very Resident Evil at all.
Not to mention all the DMC nonsense.
Yeah, DMC was like, I think that DMC didn't have as much of an impact on the broader opinion that people had of Capcom because DMC was a very loyal but niche fandom.
While pissing everybody else off, though.
Well, the thing is that the broader people back then, there were still a lot of people who were reading the media's opinion on things, and we've got to remember the gaming media loved DMC Devil May Cry.
Yeah, they
I, although I increasingly suspect that the reason they liked it was because people who like video games hate it.
because the games journalists could actually play it.
And there was, an AR-15 abortion scene.
Yes.
I mean, they're into that kind of thing.
So, yeah. Capcom got a smack in the face, and it was largely because of their own design. But now nobody's listening to the games media anymore.
Well, I don't know if that's strictly speaking true.
Largely the circles we hang around in, nobody listens to them. But even among normies, like, people are not going to the big sites in the same numbers that they used to.
Yeah, no. When was the last time somebody told you about a GameSpot article or an IGN article, let alone a Polygon article?
And more the point, when was the last time someone did so without rolling their eyes?
Yeah, the reason I'm thinking about it and slow down a minute is because I wonder if my circle has just gradually moved itself so far out from there I can't see the normies anymore.
Yes.
Well, the thing is that the normies that you talk about, they don't read gaming sites.
Mm.
Like the thing is, if you're designating a group as normies, they already exist. So only their furthest edge that is closest to us will even overlap with mainstream gaming outlets. The group of people who are enthusiastic about gaming in general, they have long since abandoned those major outlets.
Yeah, someone who's kind of jumping the gap and making gaming a hobby very quickly learns that don't go to those main sites.
I think that basically what supplies those main sites with those hits are YouTubers who want to talk about the news and the links that they provide to their source articles.
Yes.
That's basically where it comes from. I don't think that they are actually generating much in the way of sort of primary hits from people. I want to know about the news on this topic, so I will go to this trusted news source to find out what the hap. But I think they're getting a lot of secondary redirects from other people who are talking about it.
Like, nobody goes to Kotaku for articles like, this monster tastes like chocolate and that's racist. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's not too far from a couple of articles I did see.
Didn't somebody, I don't remember if it was me or somebody else, linked an article, linked a clip of an article, and it might have been on the politics board saying that liking doggos is racist or something.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh yeah, you linked it and I added Fern on it.
So yeah, like it's reached a point where there was a guy who was archiving just the nonsense. The guy who did Kotaku in Action, who gave up in disgust because even he could not parody what was being presented.
Well, the thing is that it was that he would just have to link everything.
Yeah, he couldn't keep up, and there was nowhere to take the parody because what was being presented was already more ridiculous.
Incidentally, the Kotaku in Action subreddit is cancer now.
Yeah, I thought it might be.
It got overtaken by some shill mods.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not really surprised because I saw the same thing happen to a lot of people commentating at the time, because at the time, sort of Donald Trump was ascendant, right? And a lot of people who were very down on the games media, and appropriately so, in games journalism, did not apply that to the media at large, and swallowed all of the mainstream media narratives about Donald Trump whole, and eventually ended up associating, disliking the games journalism edifice with supporting Donald Trump, and so they all basically abandoned ship. So those places like Kotaku in Action either became sort of overtly political anti-Trump edifices, or they disappeared entirely because they didn't want to be associated with not hating Donald Trump enough.
Yeah, that's basically Reddit as a whole too.
Yeah, they.
Pretty cancerous.
Well, Reddit is owned by the CCP, and their paid global mods are all CCP activists.
It's true.
Alrighty. So with all that, is there anything else we can actually talk about this week, or does it just have to all go onto the back burner for now?
Is there any content we wasted before the show that was worth talking about? Because that's where all our best stuff ends up, right? Is in our pre-show discussions about what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, like I know I've put out all that stuff about Dreamworld, but that's an onion that needs to be peeled at a later date, I think.
Isn't that place on the Gold Coast?
Also, yes, but it's a MMO scam. It's a Kickstarter scam.
Kickstarter is basically synonymous with scams at this point.
Yeah, it is.
There is no idea so good that it can't be ruined right quick by people who want to make a quick buck.
Yeah. So this is people who are milking the naivety of people on Kickstarter, as well as the MMO buying public's complete desperation for novelty.
Yeah, well, I don't know how many there are anymore. Like, how popular are MMOs as a genre, really? There is the community that play Final Fantasy XIV, the community that play WoW Classic, and who else? What other large community is there?
Basically, the Korean MMO market. You can lump all them in together. People who play,
but they're almost on the scale where they're a genre of niche games that people like to play. Not even MMO scale anymore, because MMO in my mind means it's of the scale where the world is playing, so to speak. Yeah. Not a small niche community, because there are more people playing Street Fighter than there are playing most of those Korean MMOs viewed individually.
A problem with a lot of those Korean MMOs is after they've been out for a little while, is they par down their player base, and it gets to a point where it's just Whale or GTFO.
Yeah, because they need to keep making that cash.
That's it.
Not every Korean MMO is fortunate enough to be able to solve all their problems with Ellen swimsuits.
Yeah, although Terra seems to be dying.
Well, they're dying because they made the game boring more than anything else.
Yeah, they ruined their own game.
Yeah.
But that seems to be the way any MMO goes down in the end, typically.
Yeah. But no,
some boneheaded marketing.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people out there, and even in the my friend circles, like they want a new MMO, a new experience, but there is absolutely nothing coming out. Well,
not only is there nothing coming out, but none of them know what it is that they actually want.
No, that's right. And
so if the customer themselves doesn't know, and the developers don't know, the last people who are going to know are the suits that finance it. So it'll be a long time until somebody manages to bottle that lightning again, most likely. Or it could happen tomorrow, I guess.
It could potentially happen tomorrow.
It's one of those things that it'll happen when it happens, and there's basically nothing you can do to speed it along.
Yeah, like
online reboot, here we go.
There's a few people out there who are actually making attempts. Like you've got people making Ashes of Creation who've got a bit of interest going and things like that. But ultimately, it's the sort of thing that no one knows what that next big thing is until it is presented.
Well, there's also the sort of the muddling influence of the fact that the two big dogs in the room, World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV, who after all these years are still the two big dogs in the room, they also have Juggernaut franchises behind them.
Mm-hmm.
So it is hard to say with confidence that without a Juggernaut franchise and simply with engaging enough gameplay, you can do it.
Yeah. I think the weird part is that with the MMOs, we can see what the big thing is maybe 30 years down the line, but not what it is now. Like way down the line, you've got full immersion VR.
Yeah, I don't know whether or not that'll ever be realised.
Probably, almost certainly not in our lifetime.
It seems like a thing that would be so dangerous that the world would be plunged into a dystopia the moment that it was realised.
Yeah.
That and we'd all be too old or fat to be able to use it.
Like if you look at, say, anime where such a technology exists, they are always set in a world that is exactly like today, but for the existence of this one extra technology.
Yeah, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Because if you spool out the implications of that technology, it's too dire.
Yeah, it is. It is grim.
I mean, it's pretty clear that Sword Art Online wanted to go that direction when they realized that. Like, all their latter seasons are based around turning that gaming technology, what was essentially gaming technology, into an engine for basically military development.
Yeah.
So all of the life lost and the bloodshed that happens after the first couple seasons is all about governments trying to turn it into a weapon.
Yeah.
Because that's realistically the thing that happens first.
So that's probably 100 years odd down the track. But
Yeah, we're gonna wipe ourselves out long before that.
probably.
It's gonna be Stone Age time. You should rebuild from scratch.
Humanity fail, return to monkey. So yeah, that's doesn't exactly help us now though, does it? Where,
Yeah, as far as even that would go only as far as being a novelty though, because let's say you've got that full immersion thing. Other than the full immersion experience, like what is it that you want? Because immersion won't be good enough. I'm fully immersed in real life and it sucks.
Yeah.
But there's that anime that's running this season about a full immersion MMO that killed the genre because it was realistic. They made everything realistic, and it was hailed as the shittiest game ever made as a result.
I like that.
Yeah,
that's
the
where
other
realism becomes too real.
the other thing, Fern, with all your friends that are saying they're hankering for a new MMO, what they're actually hankering for is probably the experience they had when they played their first MMO world.
I think you need to be a kid to have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
you got to be in the right circumstances to actually get that.
I don't think that once you pass a certain age, that particular wonder won't come back to you. You might be able to find something similar, but it won't be the same thing because there's something about being a kid that enables certain things to be wondrous that aren't otherwise.
Yeah.
Anyone who has had children or who knows children can see that something can be absolutely wondrous when it's totally mundane to you.
Yeah.
I mean, if you Ari will probably be able to imagine like trying to explain what is cool about a game that you like to your dad. Who is your dad? Like I don't. It seems like Fern's family are all into gaming to some extent, to a greater or lesser extent.
All my entire family are nerds.
But
No, my family are not.
yeah, your dad is like a businessman. My dad is like a scientist and an outdoorsman.
My dad's an
Like
accountant.
you can't explain what the moving lights on the box mean to my father, and it's not because he's dumb. It's because there's just not the mental equipment to process that information. Once he passed a certain age, it's like, oh well, I mean, the things that I define as wondrous have been fixed in place, and they're part of my history now. And you can't introduce something, these strange colours moving on a screen, and expect me to appreciate the wonder in those. Like some people can, but most people can't.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of personal psychology involved in what is great about an MMO, and I think that that's part of. It's not the biggest thing. It's probably not even a major factor, but I think it's a contributing factor as to why MMOs drag on so long. I mean, the dominant one is going to be sunk cost fallacy.
Yes.
But it is part of it that there is something that pulls people back to WoW, even though they know it's bad for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just that it has been fixed in their mind as something that is wonderful and important, even if they intellectually no longer believe that it is wonderful and important. The instinct still resides there. Yeah. And so that's why you have to tell yourself, no, bad for you. Because your instinct does not recognize it as bad for you. Your mind does. Your instinct remembers what it was like when you first played it and how wonderful and amazing that was. And it will suck you back in.
Even
But
though
I don't
it's
I
crap.
don't think I don't think you can like construct that de novo.
No.
It's and I once you've grown up with these things, I don't think that you can, within the scope of what we regard as an MMO, I don't think you can create a wide enough paradigm shift to incite that response again. It wouldn't be an MMO at that point. It would not be recognizable at that point as what it is. And I think that transplanting our concept of an MMO simply into an advanced form of VR is not going to be sufficient either, because it will still be the same things that once were.
Well, yeah, like you read the books and you watch the anime, and what is 90% of these full immersion MMOs anyway? They spend a lot of their time just grinding.
Yeah, they're all JRPGs. They're all written in Japan, therefore they're all JRPGs.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's there is something to be said about adding a new sensory element to things, adding depth, which is just an aspect of sight, to a VR.
Listen, I played Monster Hunter on my VR headset in 2D, right? Because there's no 3D mode because it's not a VR game. But I played it in 2D, and my heart nearly stopped. Like, it's not easy. You
Yeah.
become tired very quickly because the thing keeps jumping on your face, and when it's so big and so close to you, it's not
So
the same thing. But I don't necessarily want to go back in there necessarily. It's kind of it's mentally exhausting.
Oh man, that would be awesome to play in 3D. Big ol' Anjanath jumping on your face.
I do not want.
I want.
Do not want. Because that means you have to fight Kezu in full 3D.
Only in this game.
Yeah.
No, Kizu's a popular recurring character that people love,
Because, yeah, love. Yeah.
just like Giganox.
Yeah. The Giganox has only been in one game. Two,
We can
actually.
fix that.
Actually, I think it was in stories. But yeah.
And pointedly not in Ride.
And pointedly not in Ride. So, yeah, anyway. So, I think that's about it for the show. So, next week, Dano, we'll figure something out.
Might be a Jackbox week. We don't know.
It might be, I don't know, we'll figure something out in the meantime. And then the week after that, it's going to be...
E3 week.
Presuming it actually happens and doesn't get called off because there's one case of coof or something.
I kind of hope it does, but even so, a lot of this stuff is pre-canned anyway. It's already been recorded.
Yeah, it's not the E3 proper doesn't really exist in a meaningful sense anymore. It's just, oh well, you can sit in an audience and watch these trailers play back to back.
Yes, no sitting
we
in
will-
a giant stadium watching Shigeru Miyamoto embarrass himself on a plastic drum.
Uh,
Yeah, the days
Oh,
of the glorious levels of cringe you got from E3, I think, are gone.
You can attack its weak point for massive damage.
Giant enemy crab.
Yeah, well, that was when there was no stage grooming, though. Like, it was always people who had no training in what they were supposed to do once they went on stage that made all that cringe. Nowadays, you've got this sort of over-groomed thing that nobody feels is genuine.
The last time that actually really happened would have been No Man's Sky.
I hear they got another patch recently.
Yeah, they did. It's a big visual overhaul this time around. And
That's
They've
a
really
fun
been
one.
dedicated to that project.
and it that now lets you fly and actually ride on space butterflies. So there's that. Yeah, the game
Game's a pretty good project now.
Yeah, it is totally worth your time to go and play No Man's Sky.
Especially if you got a VR headset.
Yeah, in that case, you can just completely kill all your friends by reaching
Okay,
over
you
and
could-
patting them on the shoulder.
You can
I thought-
noodle man your way to them and stick your hand in their face and they die.
It's like playing a game with Octodad. I mean, seriously, what are you doing?
The only thing that I can remember about it is Aristeel fell through the stairs and got stuck under them.
Yeah, that happens too. Do not try and teleport onto stairs.
Oh man.
All right. I think we should go to closing comments and start wrapping up.
So PSO2 New Genesis comes out in the middle of next week, depending on what time zone you live in.
And then it explodes, and it comes out again and explodes a second time, and hopefully by the time it's all over, there'll be a nice fat stack of Apologems waiting for everybody.
I just wonder how many times I have to install it this time.
Ugh, I don't even want to think about it. I think I still have several copies, but I'm scared to find out.
I've got at least 3.
I got the tweaker to dig them all out and just did a fresh install from Steam after I moved my account over.
The tweaker exploded on me, so I'm scared to even get it to try and do anything, lest it uninstall something I don't want it to do.
Yeah, I might have to just let the tweaker do a prune and see what it does. If I have to reinstall from scratch, then that's another one.
Yeah, I would like to, since this is undergoing sort of a major shift, I would like to just uninstall everything completely and then reinstall from scratch with all the new stuff attached to it, because I just don't know what the current state of affairs is on my computer at all.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to find out.
Since it's tied to your Steam account now, nuking your Steam version and then having the tweaker kill any extra versions laying around, and then uninstalling the tweaker and reinstalling the Steam version might be the way to go.
Yeah, I'm thinking that might
Well,
be pretty good.
I have to have a tool around with it when I get back. But I want to play Monster Hunter though, and I want to play FGO, and I want to pick up Inquisitor from the sale and try that. And
We're going to do
And
that
for
right now.
oh dear,
So let's get out of here and do that.
being an adult sucks.
Oh, Fern, unfortunately, I got a special guest, and he's making a quick comeback.
Where's the
He's
button?
going to be here. He wants to be here for 3,234 pages. So here he is.
How's it going, everyone? I just figured I'd do you all a favor and go ahead and read out these wonderful emails, because I figure if it comes from my mouth, that it will sound much better. First one, page 1, from Anthony Fauci.
I'm just going to press the button now.
To Haskins, Linda, Salgrade, Sarah, Crawford Chase, CC. Please review House Oversight Letter on Coronavirus Diagnostics. I do not understand. Why are you asking me to review this? Is this an FYI, question mark, question mark?
Okay. We will see you guys all next time.
Page 2.
Ah.